There are season openers, home openers, and conference openers. That's what we have for you today. A Sunbelt opener at Bridgeport Stadium in Harrisonburg. It's also family weekend, but a soggy Saturday could have an impact on the more casual fans. However, the Darhan die-hard fans and Coach Bob Chesney do not fear the elements. Neither does Georgia Southern and their head coach, of course, Clay Helton. It should make for another fun afternoon of college football here on ESPN+. Hello, everyone. I'm Kurt Dudley, and we're joined today by Delvin Joyce, Hall of Fame member here at James Madison University, and David Holvey is on the sideline. 3 games in for the Dukes of James Madison, only the second home game for the Dukes this year. Give us your kind of capsule of the Dukes' 3 games, too.
Yeah, Kurt, when you think about this JMU team, the thing that jumps off the page is this defense. They're nationally ranked in several categories, and they don't just play fast, they impose their will. Now, that's going to be a key matchup today because Georgia Southern is going to want to spread the ball around the field and toss it all around the yard with their quarterback, J.C. French IV.
They have some explosive playmakers. That will be a concern for JMU today. All right, let's go down to the field level. Saturday, as I mentioned, David Holvey trying to stay dry.
Game like this to start your conference to sentiments eerily similar this week for head coach Bob Chesney and the Dukes. He said we've got to play with confidence. We make a mistake, we move forward. He also said today's the kind of game the light either shines on you for the good that you've done or it exposes you for the work you haven't. Now for Georgia Southern and head coach Clay Helton, everything is about protecting the football. And look, these conditions do not make that easier. The Dukes have been tremendous on the ground, and Coach Helton said we've got to take away a few possessions to give our offense a few more possessions of their own.
Well, the Dukes won the toss. They'll defer to the second half, and the Dukes will tee it up with Cristiano Rosa kicking things off for James Madison. Dalen Cobb deep to receive. He is a playmaker, sort of like you were in your day there, Delvin Joyce. He does quite a bit of everything.
Yeah, but he's got the speed. I mean, he had a 95-yard return against Jacksonville State. He is definitely a threat that Bob Chesney wants to watch out for in this game.
Again, it'll be rainy throughout the afternoon. No downpours are in the forecast. We did have a little heavy rain about 30 minutes ago. Temperature between 65 and 70. A little humidity today, but it should be a good ball game nonetheless. The Dukes in the black and the kickoff into the end zone, and it'll be a touchback. We'll start the ball game at the 25-yard line between James Madison and Georgia Southern, the 11th or 12th all-time meeting between the two. Georgia Southern leads this series at 9-2. But since they've joined the Sun Belt, the home team has won the last 3 ball games. And here's J.C. French coming out, 60% completion rate. He set a record throwing the football last year.
Yeah, J.C. French is a very, very talented play caller at that position. I think he's going to have a really solid game today because this weather, I think, suits his playing style.
So at the 25, and they do start, they will move a lot of bodies around. That's O.J. Arnold, and he'll take the first handoff, and he runs up to the 25 where he's met right there. And coming in is Trent Hendrick, the linebacker for James Madison, making the stop for the Dukes.
And that was Trent Hendrick, again, the heart and soul of this defense. He's going to come up and try to make a lot of plays today and establish their will at the line of scrimmage.
Gain of only about a half yard on the play. In motion goes Cobb. They again will move him all over the place, and they swing it out there. And coming up to make the hit, it is Jacob Thomas coming from one of the safety slots to do so, and a loss on the play.
And that's the exact kind of play that you expect Jacob Thomas to make. He's up in the run fit in most of the plays, and so for him to be able to go up and make that play on that was huge.
46% on third down conversions thus far for Georgia Southern. That's 41st in the country, 3rd in the Sun Belt. But all the stats that we talk about, you have to handicap them a little bit because of the Southern Cal game. Southern Cal gained over 700 yards, and that skews the numbers a bit for Georgia Southern.
Yeah, the talent difference was on display out there in California.
Back to pass. And over the middle, and it is caught. The coverage there by Tyler Brown, and that is way short of the first down. In fact, that'll bring up a 3rd and about 6. So right away, we will see the punting unit come on.
And if you are the defensive coordinator for James Madison, Colin Hitchler, you are excited about that first drive, 3 and out. Now, you kind of got a peek into what Georgia Southern was trying to accomplish there. Started the drive with a run play, then 2 quick passes. I expect to see more of that as the game goes on.
Alex Smith is the punter. He's punted the ball 19 times this season, averaging just a smidge under 41 yards per punt. Gets the punt off kind of low, and that is Wayne Knight. He's going to watch it bounce, and it bounces right to him. He was fortunate to cover that football.
And that's really one that Wayne Knight's got to come up and catch. As soon as the ball hits the ground, you have no idea what it's going to do. It could have bounced up and hit your teammate there and caused a fumble. And so he's got to really focus on coming up and securing the catch.
Well, first of all, it's not a round football. We know that, so it can go any way.
That's
and
right.
You've got the wet conditions today as well, so that ball could squirt around a little bit. The good thing is this is an artificial surface, and it's not going to change really the running game. You might see a little slipping and sliding, but it's not plodding in grass as you might have in conditions like today.
Yeah, we finally got football weather, Kurt.
That's right.
Who needs sunshine and unicorns and rainbows?
Hey, we got Sun Belt football.
That's right.
That's the only sun we necessarily need today. Alonzo Barnett, coming off a good week last Saturday down in the city of Seven Hills, leading James Madison to the 31-13 win over Liberty. And there he had an open receiver. Brandon Tyson was there defensively. That certainly was a catchable ball. Maybe a little too much zip coming out of the locker room for Barnett the third.
Yeah, and I'm going to chalk that one up to the weather. I mean, it doesn't look like it's raining a lot, but the ball is wet. Landon Ellis couldn't secure that, and you're right. Alonzo Barnett put a lot of zip on that ball. He probably needs to take a little bit off, use a little more touch there.
He completed 17 out of 25 last Saturday for 213 yards. He also threw 1 touchdown toss, was intercepted in the end zone at one occasion, also carried the ball 5 times for 45 yards. Here is Knight. Knight gets it across the 31, and he's met there by Justin Myers.
And we're probably going to see a lot of Wayne Knight today. The running back room for James Madison is a little banged up. And so I know that they're all preseason Sun Belt performer. George Pettaway is out today. And so Wayne Knight is probably going to have to carry the load for this James Madison offense.
Yeah, Iowa Day, we're not quite sure. We'll have to see if he comes in as well today. They have 3 receivers here to the near side with 1 back to help to protect, and he does so. Barnett underneath, and again the ball slips out of the hands. Dorian Smith was there, but the intended receiver was Nick DeGenario, and these guys are usually pretty sure-handed, so weather may be a factor on this opening drive for JMU. Not capable of pulling in the first 2.
Yeah. Listen, I've been in these games with this type of weather, and it is very, very annoying when the ball is just not quite dry enough. And you see it there. We had 2 drops on that drive. And if you're Brandon Bailey for Georgia Southern defensive coordinator, you are also excited that you forced a 3 and out on the first drive.
Patrick Ray averaging 38 yards per punt this season. Dukes have not had to punt all that much. That's just his 9th try of the year. And that is caught, fair caught at the 26-yard line. So a soggy start on a soggy Saturday for both teams. In fact, 3 and out for the Eagles, 3 and out for the Dukes. We're going to step aside and go out for this commercial message or 2 as you're watching college football Sun Belt style on ESPN+. That was a 3-and-out for both teams to start this ball game here in Harrisonburg. And we talked, this is the first year, too, that a lot of leagues around the country are giving you participation reports or reports about injuries.
Yeah.
Okay, eligibility reports is actually what we should call them. And there's several on both sides of the football. For example, JMU, Brett Davis is not available today. You mentioned George Pettaway, Josh Toner, not on the offensive line for JMU. Iowa Day, I'm not sure he was a game time decision. I haven't seen him yet, haven't been able to track him down yet. But on the other side, Josh Dallas thought he might be back. We heard that he was going to be out today. There's Coach Clay Helton. He's had to move some personnel around. Really, Georgia Southern's been hit really hard by the injury bug.
Yeah, they're banged up. And you know, they said, who cares, right? I mean,
right.
Next man up mentality down there in Statesboro.
Yeah, they do not care. A flare out on a one-on-one. They do look for a lot of these one-on man-to-man matchups today. And there again, maybe the wet football. When we talked to Bob Chesney yesterday and asked him about the rain, Delvin, he said, well, both these quarterbacks have strong hands. So
That's
he wasn't quite worried about it. But so far, I think there has been a trickle of an impact.
Yeah, and both teams like to run the ball and throw quick passes, especially Georgia Southern with their screen game. And so you may not see a huge impact on the actual play on the field.
Yeah, the tight end room for in particular for Georgia Southern has been hit very hard by injuries. And on the run, and just eluding the tackler and throwing it away just before he gets to the sideline. Everybody kind of sliding in on the far side, chased out by linebacker Gannon Weathersby.
And that's good awareness by J.C. French, recognizing that he's out of the pocket. He can just toss that ball away. A lot of times you'll see quarterbacks continue and just run out of bounds and give up 4 or 5 yards. But J.C. French, again, having the awareness as a returning starter to this Georgia Southern offense makes a fantastic play that won't show up in the stat sheet, but saves them field position.
0 for 1 on third down conversions thus far. This defense for JMU, 19th in the country, first in the Sun Belt. They only allow 1 out of every 4 third down conversions. Some protection. French gets rid of it. Ball is caught, and that's good enough for the first down at the 42-yard line. Justin Eaglin, who comes in from the field corner position, and comes in to make the tackle.
And that's Camden Brown. Camden Brown is a big-time receiver for this offense. Transfer from Auburn. He's going to be very, very active in this game today.
And a timeout is called for James Madison.
James Madison.
May have been some
first charge of the half.
Equipment issues.
30 seconds in the lead.
As Colt, looks like he may have lost some of his equipment, and the Dukes had to call that timeout. Talking about Camden Brown, Brown has a chance today to tie a Georgia Southern record set by Teddy Kraft back in 2003. So Brown comes into today with 4 consecutive games with the reception for a touchdown. If he gets one this afternoon, I'm sure the Georgia Southern fans would love to see that. He'll tie Teddy for 5 in a row.
Yeah, he's a big-time receiver. I mean, again, he only needs 8 to tie their record because the school ran the triple option for so many years, right?
True.
But Camden Brown, again, they like him in man-to-man coverage. They feel like if they can get him in man-to-man, they've got a huge mismatch against whatever defender is trying to cover him. Had a big catch where he pretty much mossed a guy out in California, Southern California, against USC. So he is a big-time guy that we're going to see a lot of today as this game goes on.
Yeah, Georgia Southern doing something very unique in college football. They stayed on the West Coast for 9 days.
Yeah, that's a long road trip. You know, we asked Coach Clay Helton, you know, what does team learn from that road trip, because this is their first road game since. And he said that it hardened their team and prepared them for a tough Sun Belt away schedule.
At their own 42 are the Eagles. In motion goes Cobb. Handoff. And back behind the line of scrimmage. Well back behind the line of scrimmage. James Madison with the tackle. Aiden Gobira comes in to make the stop. And boy, he had a great game last week. Kind of a coming out party for him after transferring from Notre Dame.
And he played last week the way that James Madison fans have been anticipating. I mean, he had 2 sacks in that game, and already he's got a tackle for loss in this game. I mean, he's showing up in a big way for this James Madison defensive line.
Single man in the backfield, 2 to each side, and they put in motion the running back, and the ball is on the turf. Here comes a flag. This might be even further back. Just looking at where that is, well, I'm not going to speculate.
Yeah, it looks like a hold.
That's what you would think, but there was also a lot of contact going on in there too.
James Madison's had a lot of hands to the face.
There's no foul for holding. Third down.
All right, so we get that clarity. Jeremy Parker is our referee today.
And you see Trent Hendrick coming up the A-gap, gets a lot of pressure on French. You know, again, it doesn't look like there's a lot of rain today, but these folks are going to have to hang on to the ball, or else it's going to be a long day for both offenses.
So all the way back to the 30, sets up a 3rd and 22. Let's see what the Eagles will dial up here.
And James Madison walking all their defenders up to the line. This is signature Colin Hitchler.
And they do a little screen out here on the right side, and he is nearly broken like a wishbone. Trent Hendrick gets in there to bring him down after a minimal gain.
And that was a really good stop by this defense. You know, they gave up a first down on this drive, but from there they played solid defense. You can see Georgia Southern, their goal is to get the ball out in space to their playmakers, and that was Dalen Cobb, one of their big-time playmakers. They're going to try to get the ball to him, either running the ball, they're going to get him in the screen game, and then he's also a return guy. So they want Dalen Cobb to touch the ball as often as possible.
Smith with his second punt this afternoon. A little pressure coming this time at night. Will take it in at the 21. He's going to return it up to the 30. Tries to get to the outside. Good open field tackle. Will drop Knight at the 27-yard line as A.J. Brown Sr. makes the stop. And James Madison will have its second possession of the afternoon. Georgia Southern did pick up a first down on possession number 2, but stalls from there. Let's see what the Dukes will do with Alonzo Barnett and company back on the field when we return.
Still no score here at Bridgeport Stadium. Kurt, you talked about the injuries Georgia Southern's had to deal with. Well, one of the most unlikely guys has now stepped onto the roster for Georgia Southern, and that's Ethan Deerham. Deerham played for Southern for 2 years, but he then left his senior year to join a ministry called Athletes in Action. Now, Coach Helen, you get 105 roster spots. He left one open just in case of emergency, and for Deerham, well, now he's back on the field. It's been 2 years since the guy has played football. But Coach Helton said his senior year he wanted to teach the gospel and be a soldier for Christ. Now he's not only a soldier for Christ, but also a soldier for the Eagles. So you've seen them mix up for Georgia Southern, and well, now they're really having to find ways to fill in gaps.
Yeah, and that tight end room is coached by Brian Shore, former, of course, JMU football fans. Remember, he led the Dukes to their last national championship at the FCS level. We'll talk more about that this afternoon, too. And the man is back in the backfield for James Madison. Tracy Hill making the tackle, though, but you see
Jordan Fuller. I mean, it's good to see him back. We saw him a little bit in the Louisville game. He was sort of the feature back there, and we haven't seen him since then. But comes out, he's the all-time touchdown leading rusher from Holy Cross. So the Holy Cross transfer going to have a big impact on this game today because that running back room for James Madison is so banged up.
He is 5'11", 229. He was out of the lineup last week because of an injury. And squirting free is Knight, and he takes it into the territory of Georgia Southern before Chance Gamble can wrestle him down right at midfield.
And so right now you can sort of see the game plan for offensive coordinator Dean Kennedy. They are going to run the football. You know, they opened that initial drive with 2 pass plays and 1 run play. Now they've run it on consecutive downs and picked up a first down.
One man in the backfield, that is Knight. 2 receivers. You got a couple of tight ends out there as well, just the one actually. And there goes the run. Right up inside to the 42-yard line. Knight the ball carrier, and Brendan Harrington drops him. Knight, 5'7", 190-pound redshirt junior out of Delaware. Last week, 17 carries, tied his career high with 89 rushing yards again, and this time whirling around, picking up the first down on second effort, it appears, is Alonzo Barnett. Keva Seka finally brings him down, but it's not in time to stop him shy of the first down. So another first down for James Madison. They are without Latrell Bullard too, so they've got that's one of their primary defensive interior linemen for Georgia Southern.
Officials timeout from the chains.
Yeah, Bullard's a big guy. He goes for 6'1", 350 pounds. Kind of reminds us of a guy on the other side of the ball for James Madison, Emmanuel Bush. And with Bullard being out, it's a big loss for them, but their backup, Devin Lowe, he comes in. He's 6'2", 360. So he's about 10 pounds heavier than is Bullard.
The biggest difference is they were going to rotate those guys. So now you're looking at so many more snaps for Lowe, and that could be problematic as the game goes on. But that's just something that the Eagles have to deal with here today. The quarterback, the handoff goes to Knight. Knight bounces it to the outside, to the 30, heading towards the end zone. He's going to make it to the end zone. Celebration for Wayne Knight. Streamers will fly even in the rain. And the Dukes take the lead 6-0.
And that is just textbook Wayne Knight. You can see he runs it up into the middle of the line of scrimmage. As we watch the replay here, he presses the hole and then bounces it outside. You know, we have a saying as running backs, you want to run to daylight. And Wayne Knight that time found daylight on the outside and took it to the house.
So the point after coming in, Morgan Torres, and he pops it right on through. And James Madison with the early lead. The Dukes marching down the field after taking the ball on a punt and roll it right on through on their second possession of the afternoon, and Knight gets free for the touchdown. That's his 3rd of the season. And that is the 5th of his career.
And again, the offensive play calling by Dean Kennedy, that was heavy run. I don't think we saw a pass on that play, on that drive. They feel like, again, especially with guys injured on their defensive line like Latrell Bullard, that they can just run the ball and impose their will.
Well, if you're the offensive coordinator and you saw what you saw in that first, this is a game of adjustments. Sports is a game of adjustments, right? What you can do in the game itself. Do you think now it looks like heavy run for JMU?
I think they will absolutely run the ball. They want to control the time of possession. And that blueprint is out there on Georgia Southern right now. If you look at that USC game, USC had over 300 yards rushing against them. Fresno State had success running the ball against them. Jacksonville State also had success running the ball against this defense. So Dean Kennedy right now picking his spots, and I think running the ball is probably what he's going to go with.
Cobb is back to receive, standing in the end zone. just to the shadows of the scoreboard and the Athletic Performance Center, and all out of the end zone. No chance for a return at all. So Georgia Southern has its third possession awaiting, and we're going to take a timeout here in the opening quarter. James Madison, a little more than halfway through, has a 7-0 lead in the first quarter. Seven nothing James Madison, a little more than midway through the first quarter. And Delvin, you were talking at the very open about this defense that has set the tone, if you would, for the month of September here for the Dukes. Number 2 against the pass, allowing just 103 yards. Now, the biggest passing game came from Louisville. No surprise, but that was only 150 some yards. And then number 6 nationally in total defense, 215. And I asked the coaches, I said, can you handicap these numbers for us? He said, well, if you look around the country, they're actually pretty valid because everybody's played a similar schedule.
That's right.
Maybe an FCS team, a couple of, it's non-conference season, right?
That's right. And, Colin Hitchler said they took some chances at Louisville, maybe surprised them in a lot of ways, and those chances paid off for them.
Georgia Southern with the football after the touchdown for Barnett and company.
And this is a big drive for Georgia Southern and J.C. French.
That run by Wright was for 40 yards, by the way, a 5-play, 72-yard drive. 12-2 at 19, and there is the hit in the backfield. He does get rid of the football. It is caught, but a swarming black jersey defense gets there, led by number 5, Trent Hedrick. We've said his name yet again.
And that was a fantastic catch. I don't know how he pulled that in, especially a wet ball. Great hands, but that is the signature of Georgia Southern. They want to go quick, get the ball out to their playmakers in the screen game.
And they've got 3 to the right side. He's looking left, trying to get a little pump fake, and nearly a nice adjustment attempted, but it's going to fall incomplete.
And that was Marcus Sanders Jr. I was not surprised that they took a shot there. They've been kind of setting that up the entire game. They've had a couple of quick screens to the boundary. That time you see Marcus Sanders Jr. does a little hitch and go and takes a shot downfield.
He caught 5 balls for 68 yards against the Maine Black Bears last weekend, a game in which they won at home 45-17. They're 2-0 at Paulson Stadium, which is a really tough place to play. Asked the Dukes about that last year.
The power of Paulson.
That's right. 41-34, an exciting win over Jacksonville State 2 weeks ago. French standing tall. He's going to run. Gets to the outside. He finds the sticks, picks up a first down and slides. Great presence of mind of where the sticks were, where he needed to get to. He gets to the 37 ultimately, and he picks up the second first down for Georgia Southern. They're going in a hurry.
And that's exactly what Georgia Southern needs. They need him to make plays like that and extend drives.
Dukes weren't quite lined up, and there's a flare, and they find all alone on the right flank. And staying on his feet, tumbling out of bounds before Justin Eaglin can catch up to him.
Camden Brown. I mean, what a play by J.C. French IV. I mean, they fooled everybody on that one. That was sort of like an option concept, except he stayed behind the line of scrimmage and threw the ball forward. And Camden Brown, of course, when he gets the ball in his hands, he is electric.
That was the quick tempo that got the Dukes a little off stride. They didn't settle in. And so you end up with Brown all alone to the outside. They hand off. Up to the middle, there's just a bit of a seam, and trying to find his way through is O.J. Arnold. Arnold, a senior, 5'9", 195. Most of this roster is from the state of Georgia. That Irk Russell did that. Paul Johnson did that. Georgia Southern does that. Let's stay right there in South Georgia and then the connecting states. Ball is on the turf and wisely jumping on it. This is one of those days you don't want to fool with it. And covering it up is Taylor Bradshaw, but a loss on the play.
And that's unfortunate. I mean, those are the kind of plays that this drive offensive coordinator Ryan Applin absolutely nuts. I mean, they have a great drive going. They're moving the chains, and now all of a sudden they put themselves in a 3rd and long situation because of a botched snap.
And they'll run a lot of wrinkles. I mean, they will come out with some gadget plays here and there. Last week they had 4 guys complete a pass, and they weren't all quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's Clay Helton, man. He's not afraid to mix it up and take some chances.
Swinging it out to the right side, one-on-one, open field tackle. That is what Eaglin can do.
And that was a really good play. You don't know how hard it is to tackle a guy in space like that. And so for Eaglin to come up and make that play, you know, that's what Bob Chesney talked about yesterday. He said we just have to come up and make tackles. That's one of the things that we didn't see from them last week at Liberty. Liberty quarterback Ethan Vasco was able to scramble and make plays because they were in lanes, but they were not making the tackles.
Well, Vasco's a different style quarterback, too. You have to break down to get him. You're not throwing your hands up in the air because you expect him to pass the football. But 4th down now for Georgia Southern.
And Georgia Southern playing field position right now, punting the ball away. I think that's a smart thing.
And the ball is going to hang up. What a punt, and it stays in bounds. Wait a minute, is it down? They play a little volleyball with the football, and it's a touchback. It was touched inside the goal line, says one of the officials. We'll watch it again.
On the field is a touchback.
And that's a really good punt.
Standing on the end line there, too.
And you know, in college football, you don't need to throw the ball back. You can catch it in the field of play and let the impetus of the ball take you into the end zone, and you still get the ball where you caught it initially. So you see these guys throwing it back just like in the NFL. You don't have to do that in college football.
Yeah, the way that ball played back, you would appreciate a shot like that, golfer that you are, huh?
Yeah, that's right. Only with my 9-iron can I do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, 1st and 10 at the 20. James Madison, possession number 3. Dukes are 1 out of 2 and putting points up on the board in this ball game. The Dukes with 75 yards total at the moment to 39 for Georgia Southern. Dukes have also created a few losses behind the sticks for Georgia Southern. These programs first met in 1985. JMU won that game, but then 8 in a row ripped off in this series by Georgia Southern. And Georgia Southern went on to win many a conference and national championships, 6 of them, by the way, at the FCS level.
So very curious to see the offensive play calling rhythm right here on this drive. 2 passes on the first drive, no passes on the second drive.
And here comes pulling it down is Barnett. Barnett slips as he tries to turn the corner. You know, and he felt there that with the firm footing, he was going to elude Aiden Jackson, but Jackson says, no, I'm going to be right here
but
where you are.
It was there, and listen, that's a tough thing for a quarterback to make a safety miss like that in the hole. But again, a good play call because every now and then Barnett has to keep that ball to keep the defense honest.
In motion, nearly cutting up the field a little too early. Here's Barnett. He's going to flare it out, and a big hit in the back on your receiver. And that was Knight coming out of the backfield. Only picked up about 2 yards on the play, actually. Brandon Tyson catches up to him.
And Brandon Tyson, a transfer out of Elon, he is a solid playmaker on that defense. He had big shoes to fill. He had to replace a guy named Marquez Watson Trent, who transferred to Nebraska in the offseason. And Tyson has really come in. They have seen no drop off at that position with Tyson.
He was the leading tackler coming in today for this team this season, 31. And he missed part of a game because of 2 weeks ago for a targeting call, so he didn't play till the second half. Here comes a blitz and open receiver, and here comes the flags, probably a roughing the passer. Getting up, but a little slowly, maybe banged up a little bit, but up is Barnett. He's going to wave to the fans. And that was Jackson and Ferguson that came on the corner blitzes.
Yeah, listen, it's really hard when you come free.
Personal foul. Roughing the passer. Defense, number 26. 15-yard penalty. Previous spot. Automatic. First down.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's really hard when you come free like that and got a free run at the quarterback. It's so hard to let up, and especially not get a shot on the quarterback when you get an opportunity.
Yeah, that was Chris Crouch, 5'11" defensive back and a redshirt senior. So James Madison picks up the first down on the roughing the passer, and that puts the ball up to the 38-yard line, and a new set of downs for JMU. Flaring it out. This one again, the ball slips through the hands. Incomplete. That time it was intended for Mikey Scott.
Yeah, and that's what they want to do. Michael Scott is an elusive, electric playmaker for them on offense. Didn't really get him involved in the last 2 games. Had his, first 4 catches against Weber State in the open. We haven't seen his name or heard his name called since.
Well, we haven't heard this name for a couple of weeks. Matthew Sluka is back in the backfield this time as Barnett. Does he stay in the backfield with him? Yeah, he flares out here to the near side. So he's just going to draw a defender away. Sluka on a 2nd down and 10. And he's going to try to bounce it to the outside. Continues to tiptoe his way through. And he gains, we'll say, a long 4. 3rd down and 6, we'll say, before Davian Rhodes brings him down. Rhodes, a defensive end, 10 tackles coming into today. A 6'2", 235-pound 5th-year senior, again out of Georgia.
And much has been made about this 2-quarterback system at James Madison. Sluka didn't play last week. I think that was a play that a lot of people were more expecting to see from this offense.
Back to pass again. This time it is hauled in. Braden Wazlowski comes up with it. Heard a whistle, however. There is a flag down on the opposite side of the field.
Illegal formation. Offense, number 8 was in the backfield. Creating 4 in the back, more than 4 in the backfield. 5-yard penalty. Replay 3rd down.
That was Isaiah Alston, one of the receivers, needed to step up to get on the line of scrimmage. Yeah, you can only put the 4 in the backfield so that folks know who's eligible.
Yeah, and again, those drive you crazy as offensive coordinator. You make a great play, finally catch a ball to pick up a 1st down. Alston's just got to double check with the official out there. It's a very easy thing to do. Make sure you're on the line and lined up correctly.
Yeah, Barnett 2 for 5, but all of his passes have been on target. Just they have squirted through the receiver's hands. Now showing corner blitz coming from the left side and getting rid of the football, and this is caught, and he stays on his feet. That's Ellis. He has got great hands. A transfer from the University of Richmond, and very few JMU fans like spiders, but don't like spiders, but they like this one.
They certainly do like this guy. I mean, he is such a good receiver, runs a fantastic route, really good coverage on that play by Tracy Hill Jr., but Landon Ellis just has very strong hands and is able to just snatch that ball and hang on to it and stay on his feet and get some yards after catch.
That's a confidence throw and catch. I mean, you know your receiver. You know if you put it in the neighborhood, he's going to make it. He had a great touchdown catch last week. There's Fuller up the middle, juking and getting down to the 25-yard line.
And Fuller is a load. I mean, this guy is a very good runner. I love that his name is Jordan and he wears number 23. But, he made Bruce Feldman's freaks list as one of the most ridiculous physiques in college football. The guy is a load.
And he carries the ball for the 3rd time. He's gotten the open field. Does he have the speed to get there? Yes, he does. Here comes a flag, however. It may be coming back, folks. Hold on. It is a holding call, the preliminary indication. Wow. Well, Fuller, coming out of Holy Cross, carried the football.
Number 0, offense. Be from the spot of the foul. 10-yard penalty. Replay.
That's your receiver, Talon Sanchez, on the holding call. But going back to Fuller,
replay, first down.
382 carries for 2,092 yards in 37 games for the Crusaders.
Look, he has great vision, and he's such a big guy. You don't expect him to be fast, but he's sneaky fast. The way he just outran the safety to the corner of the end zone.
He showed a different gear there that time in the open field. Little tight formation. Flaring out is Wayne. Here goes Barnett. And he rumbles forward for just about 2.5, maybe 3 yards. Justin Myers will stop him there.
And that's about the third called run play for Barnett in this game, which tells you that he's feeling better. They're not really that concerned about the knee because they wouldn't necessarily call that kind of play with Barnett.
Yeah, that story is done. It was a story all off season. When was he going to be back? He comes out on opening day. He plays. He shares time with Sluka, but now you can say he's 100% back. Barnett fakes the handoff, throws over the middle. Nope, fakes it again, and then zips it on across. Looked like the hit was just in time as Justin Myers comes in to pop the would-be receiver in Wayne Knight coming out of the backfield.
Well, that was really good coverage by Georgia Southern on that play. I mean, Barnett had several options that he was looking at, but everybody seemed to be covered. He came back to the other side to his check down, and that was also covered.
3rd and 13 for the Dukes. Now, last week, the Dukes had only one 3rd and true long, a 3rd and 12 in last week's ball game. That was one of the big keys. JMU was so efficient on first down last week. Even though it was just tied at halftime, you felt that the Dukes had the offense working.
And this may be 4-down territory if they don't pick this up.
Barnett, quarterback draw this time. Again, you can see the field is slowing his progress down a little bit. Brendan Harrington, he's losing his traction just a bit. Harrington doesn't lose any traction. He's a linebacker out of North Carolina. A super senior makes the tackle. Well, that's the end of the first quarter of play. James Madison on a 40-yard touchdown run by Wayne Knight has the 7-0 lead through 1. Back with the second quarter after these messages. Welcome back, everyone. 7-0 after one quarter. Well, Wayne Knight had a pretty good week last Saturday down in Lynchburg, leading the Dukes to the 31-13 win, and he's off to a very good start here today. 4 carries, 61 yards, and the 40-yard touchdown run that gave the Dukes the first points of the afternoon. A little to the right, a little to the left. And here he bounces it to the outside.
Well, he's a big-time player, man. I mean, coming into the season, all the talk was about George Pettaway and, you know, Ayo Adeyi, and Wayne Knight has really carried the load for this offensive backfield for James Madison.
So Dukes will attempt a field goal here from the 34-yard line. Suarez out there. Hold is good. The kick is off, and it is no good. Off to one side. So Suarez coming into the day was, let's see here, on the season, well, he had hit a 39-yarder.
And that's really unfortunate for James Madison. They moved the ball well on that drive, had a penalty that took points off the board, and to come away with no points, that can be really, really deflating. We'll see what Colin Hitchell's defense dials up on this drive to get back that momentum.
So he is 2 for 4. His 2 field goals have been between 30 and 39 yards, and so he's missed a couple 40 long. So at the 25, Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern with 43 yards of total offense in the opening 15 minutes. For James Madison, 130. A lot of it on the second drive of the afternoon. Handoff, but not a lot of running room, but bowling his way forward to pick up a couple of yards. Hard running yards.
And that was, again, J.C. French changing the play at the line of scrimmage. Colin Hitchler said yesterday that J.C. French is more like Peyton Manning, less like Tom Brady, meaning he can come to the line, change the play, and put them in good situations. That time, whatever he saw, I think the Dukes also saw as well.
Yeah, he's a Manning manager, but a Brady runner, or Brady
that's right,
improviser. This time to the outside and well out of play. Justin Eaglin was back there for the JMU defense, but the ball was well off the mark. So French 7 for 11, including that toss there for 45 yards. Barnett 2 out of 6 for only 23 yards. But again, if you're just joining us, it's been raining most of the day here in Harrisonburg. Just a drizzle, just enough to be annoying. And it has affected the hands of the receivers today. You almost have to throw the ball right at the numbers this afternoon.
That's right, or hand it off.
Yes, and that's what it may get down to for both teams. 3rd down and long. 2 out of 5 on 3rd down conversions. Here's the pressure on the sack. He goes down. Gobira got back there. I'm not sure if they're going to give him the sack or whether they're going to give more than one.
But I think that was Emmanuel Eziogu who made an amazing swim move to the inside on the right tackle there. The right tackle didn't have a chance. Eziogu gets right back there. It throws you off because he wears number 46. We got to get that young man a different number so that he looks like a defensive end, but he is very, very active and productive for this James Madison defensive line.
So another punt for Alex Smith. And Knight this time standing back at his 37-yard line. Good snap. Punts it away from Knight. He'll move over to the other hash, and he's going to hang on to the football, try to get to the outside. He does so, but runs out of real estate at the 42.
And that's a good return by Wayne Knight. Saves the field position, fields the ball. That's the most important thing first, and then get some positive yards going forward.
Again, JMU number 6 in total defense across the land, and just limiting Georgia Southern to 45 yards of total offense thus far. And we have a timeout on the field, and we'll take a timeout along with the Dukes and the Eagles. 7-0 James Madison.
This JMU defense has been daunting for Georgia Southern so far. And I can tell you right now, the bench, it is full of energy. Colin Hitcher said, great energy, great energy. That's what it's about. And then you got Bob Chesney's dad. He said, don't let them off the hook. We know how balanced this defense is, and you're already seeing it with Aiden Gobira getting in on the mix, so many others. That's what Colin Hitcher said this defense is made of. A lot of different guys that you can rotate around. It's not just one you have to scout for.
And again, the Dukes actually, they have lost. They've just retallied things. They're down to 38 yards after the sack.
That's pretty impressive.
That was his first career sack as well. So the Dukes with the offense at about midfield. Pressing to the outside, finding some room. And picking up nearly 10. We'll have to check the sticks as Wayne Knight, with a very patient run, picks up 9 on the carry before Tracy Hill and Davion Rhodes eventually collapses in on him.
Such a patient run by Wayne Knight. That little dip to the inside allows his offensive tackle to get to outside leverage on that defensive end and springs him to the outside for 9 yards. Very good run by Wayne Knight.
We mentioned Hill a little bit. Prince Green out of the lineup again this week for Georgia Southern. There's Knight. Knight skips through to the 40 and down to the 39-yard line. Mark it at the 38, and picking up another first down for James Madison. That is number 8 here in the first half.
Another good run by Wayne Knight. You know, you can't block everybody. Every now and then the running back has to make somebody miss. You see right there, Wayne Knight made a guy miss in the hole. And right now you are seeing this offense for James Madison, that offensive line controlling the line of scrimmage and really taking over this game.
2 tight ends in the lineup for the Dukes this time. And it's Barnett taking it to the outside, gets a block from the tight end, bounces off a tackler and his own man, and he picks up another first down. Tracy Hill, though, eventually gets there. Hill, a redshirt junior from Athens, Georgia.
And that play was made by Josh Pfeiffer, pulling from the other side of the field, coming over and picking up the linebacker. A big block that springs Barnett for a nice gain.
Dukes have a good tight end room with Pfeiffer, who's more the blocking, but he can catch the football. Logan Kyle is more of your receiver, but he can go downfield. He can come across. And then last week, a big catch for Lakota Dupree, as he has added quite a bit of wrinkle into this offense for the Dukes as well.
I mean, the guy used to be a DN.
Yes, I mean, it's remarkable what they've done with him. And the nice coverage knocked away as Chance Gambley got his hand in front. Gambley, a redshirt, make that a senior, a 5th-year senior from Fitzgerald High School, and a transfer from the Owls of Kennesaw State. Does have an interception thus far this year, and a preseason first-team All-Sun Belt. That was an all-conference style play.
Well, he's a solid corner. I mean, he came into the season a little banged up. He had 3 interceptions last season with a club on his hand. He probably should have had 5 if he had not had that club on his hand.
Delay on the handoff. It's Fuller. Fuller muscles his way, but jumping on top of him, big number 99. Devin Lowe brings all 360 pounds and the low down. He'll head out of the lineup.
And again, this is a down and distance that James Madison needs to be better at. This 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8 sort of down and distance. You know, they like to go trips on this type of formation and run some different route combinations. Very curious to see what they dial up here on this play.
Well, they do have trips to the top side, the open side of the field on your screen, with Knight in the backfield. Knight's going to go that way as well. So 4 to contend with on that side. Knight is alone. Nobody's picked him up. Knight to the 20, to the 15, driven out of bounds, just shy of the 10-yard line. Brendan Harrington, he was out there for considerable time. Nobody saw him.
Nobody saw him, and that was a fantastic route combination by offensive coordinator Dean Kennedy. Runs those trips across the field. Everyone goes across the field, takes all the defenders that way. No one picks up Wayne Knight out of the backfield.
The key is to have your eyes in the right spot, and that time the eyes were moving for Georgia Southern, but that play gets them looking in the wrong direction.
Yeah, really a blown coverage there by Georgia Southern.
They've spotted the ball at the 11-yard line, so they can pick up a first down inside the 1 unless they score the touchdown here. And there's Knight. Knight is ankle tackled as he gets through the line of scrimmage. Giving him a lift up is the center, Zach Greenberg. We got a couple of former North Carolina centers playing in this ball game, with Greenberg for James Madison and then Chance Carroll for Georgia Southern.
Yeah, if you look up and down each roster, there's so many similarities between both teams.
And there's obviously the storylines are different, but there are parallels between these programs even and these institutions to some degree. Here is Barnett as he will squirt across the 5-yard line inside the 5, about a 4.5. And it is a 3rd down situation for the Dukes.
You know, my favorite similarity is with the quarterback names. You know, last year, J.C. French, the 4th, beat out Dexter Williams, the 2nd, to win that job. And Alonzo Barnett, the 3rd, beat out Billy Atkins, the 4th, to win that job. A lot of suffixes in the quarterback room.
Sounds almost like royalty battling each other,
No
right?
kidding.
Yes. These dynasties of players. All right, 3rd down situation for JMU's offense. And they are 50% on 3rd downs coming in. They pack it to the right. That's 11 up there. And Barnett takes it on his own. He's into the end zone. Touchdown, AB the 3rd. And he celebrates. He got in the end zone once last weekend. He does so again this weekend. His 30th. Well, beg your pardon. He has 29 passing touchdowns. That's his 12th rushing score.
And we've seen this concept by the Dukes a lot at goal line. You know, they empty the backfield, trust Barnett to find the lanes. They pull the guard across the formation, pick up a big block. Springs Barnett for a big touchdown for James Madison.
Looked like he was almost swimming there. Of course, it is wet today, but here's the point after, and it is through. And James Madison, with a touchdown in each quarter thus far, has the 14-0 lead as Barnett gets into the end zone, finding a way to hit the pay dirt. Back with more. 9:15 to go in the first half. 14-0 JMU. Well, the Dukes are up 14-0 on a 4-yard touchdown run by Alonzo Barnett. It was a 9-play, 57-yard drive, 4:08 off the clock. We mentioned that some of the parallels between these programs, Statesboro, Georgia, small town, Harrisonburg, of course, but also a good number of championships. Now, at Georgia Southern restarted its program in 1981. It did not take them long to win a national championship. Just 4 years later, they were a dynasty there through the 80s, got back on board in the 90s, last championship in 2000. The Dukes under Mickey Matthews, we know Coach Matthews is watching. He sent a text. He was proud of your explanation on the punt a little while ago, of course. And then 2016, Brian Shore, who is here today, he's actually down on the field as the tight ends coach for Georgia Southern. So both these programs have a lot of history in their football programs, and that's also played well into the schools.
I love Georgia Southern's history. I mean, they started their program in 1924 and then didn't have football from 1942 to 1981, and the community came together and said, hey, we want football. Georgia is a football state, and so they started that program up again in 1981. Amazing story.
It was pretty cool, and the community came together for that. We know the Southeast they love their football, the Southeastern Conference, of course, and so there was still room for other programs to grow in the Southeast, and they're the biggest school south of Macon. They're not too far from the southeastern tip of South Carolina as well.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, it's a very popular school there. I mean, Clay Helton said that for O.J. Arnold, it was Georgia Southern or nowhere, right? Like, a lot of kids there really love that school, and their enrollment is over 29,000 kids. That is a big school.
Yeah, they just had a very large, I think their largest new student class in the history of the school coming in this past fall. And here at James Madison, it's been 4,500 to 5,000 every year as a pass. That might not have been caught. Ball comes loose. I think they're going to rule this an incomplete pass. I think it skipped off the turf. Spinagatti was there, as was Tyler Brown.
On the field, it's an incomplete pass.
Yeah, so that clears that up. So second down and 10.
Yeah, he almost pulled that in. That was almost a really, really good catch by the tight end, Amon Green. He's getting a lot more time right now because their starting tight end, River Helms, is a little banged up, and I think he's out today.
Yeah, Green is 24 years old, so just 6 years younger than his position coach, Brian Shore, and a nice run by Dalen Cobb, senior from Washington, Georgia. Season with 6 rushes for 16 yards coming in, but he's also a big-time receiving threat. He's got 90 receptions for 203 yards and a couple of touchdowns. And here's a third and short. Most of these third downs have been long thus far for Georgia Southern.
And again, they got the ball to Dalen Cobb. I think Georgia Southern on this drive needs to do more of that. Get the ball in the hands of their playmakers. Dalen Cobb, again, picks up a good run, and he's a guy that can make things happen really quickly for this offense.
They bunch it up. This almost looks like wing T-days. Little cross-buck action maybe, and it nearly squirting free, and what a run that was. Tyler Brown grabs his counterpart, David Badinga. It's the first time we've had a chance to really talk about him. 5'7", 190-pound bowling ball. You really like him, don't you, Delvin?
I love Badinga. I love all running backs who are 5'7", which means he's really 5'6". But they love this guy because he can run between the tackles. A lot of times on short yardage plays, you see the small running back go out, big running back go in. They love Badinga because he can run and pick up first downs.
Yeah, he gets short yardage burst. And he finds a way to get small. They're now around the corner, and Cobb picking it up again, so loosening things up a little bit. Tyler Brown races over to force him out of bounds.
And again, I am really impressed with this drive and this response. We talked about getting the ball into the hands of their playmakers. Dalen Cobb, again, has touched the ball on this drive twice already.
And they do like to go over the top, and right now might be a chance to do it. Second down and short. French will step back, 3-step drop. He is going over the top. And incomplete. Just throwing a little interference out there. DJ Barksdale.
And by the way, I know they didn't connect on that play, but I love the play call by Ryan Applin. They've been very conservative in this game. Every now and then you got to take a shot to keep the defense honest. And I love that they took a shot there.
So third down and short this time. Again, they go for it on the second, but this is a manageable third down. They picked it up the last time. And again, a tight package. This is Brown in motion. The quarterback will keep it. He might be. Oh, second effort is good enough to pick up the first down. And your big quarterback drags Amar Thomas and Elijah Cupp along with him. And picking up the first down, J.C. French.
And that's why they love this kid, Weston Bryan. I mean, he comes in, and he is a man-child. I think Ryan Applin said he's a grown man. He's a true freshman, but he's like their Sluka guy. He comes in and just picks up yardage in short yardage situations and always falls forward.
Yeah, that was my bad, Weston Bryan. A 6'3", 250-pound freshman from Leesburg, Georgia. Now airing it out again, making the adjustment. Did he make the catch? They're saying yes, he does at the 14-yard line. Great haul in by Camden Brown. Justin Eaglin can't break it up. And it's inside James Madison territory in the red zone for the first time today is the offense for Georgia Southern.
And we talked about the big playability of Camden Brown. I mean, he's a guy that even if the coverage is tight, he's got an ability to go up and make the play.
Inside the red zone, Georgia Southern 13 out of 14, 93% with a couple of field goals and 11 touchdowns. Fakes the pass and runs with it. As J.C. French hangs on to it.
And I'm surprised they didn't take a look at this play. It looks like he tapped his foot inbounds. I mean, that is a big-time catch. That would have been a catch in the NFL. He got both feet in bounds.
Got both heels to get down. Second down at the James Madison 10. Inside the 5, they can pick up a first down. Here comes some pressure, and back to the 10 it goes again. Hendrick came in. Now it's back to about, well, they pick up about a half yard.
And listen, that was a fantastic play by J.C. French. Hendrick came through basically untouched, had a free run at French, and French was able to elude him and pick up positive yards.
Third down. They got to get it to about the 4-yard line.
And this is big for Georgia Southern. I mean, they got 3 points on the board now if they can stay here, but they'd love to have 7.
Faking the pitch. And that is shy of the first down. Trent Hendrick.
And I think he's going to keep the offense on the field.
Maybe
not.
Here they go. Trip Bryant comes in. He is 3 out of 4 on field goals at this range, 1 for 1. His long is 43. That came a couple of weeks ago against the Gamecocks at Jacksonville State.
And this is the right call. You know, get some points on the board, get the donut off of the scoreboard, and hopefully have your defense play ball and go into the locker room with a small deficit.
And a chip shot of 26 yards. Smith is your holder. Here's the snap. It's good. And cleanly through there. And the Eagles are on the board with 4:15 to go in the first half of play. So Georgia Southern finds a little pay dirt as JMU's defense stands stout. Georgia Southern now 14 of 15 inside the red zone. That's their third field goal that they have to settle for in those circumstances. Georgia Southern with an 11-play, 68-yard drive and the 26-yard field goal chipped in by Trip Bryant. And the big play there was Camden Brown, a 30-yard reception that put them in the red zone, and they do eventually capitalize. Brown 4 receptions for 68 yards. He's been targeted 5 times. He's hauled in 4 of those and has 17 yards after contact. Ball is kicked a bit short this time. To the 20, to the 25, coming out to the 30, finds a little bit of seam, cuts it back to the inside. He's in the open field, going down the middle of the field. There's number 21 hustling on through. That's Curtis Harris Lopez. Lopez to the end zone for the score. Well, yesterday, as we were leaving our meetings with head coach Bob Chesney, he said, you might see Harris Lopez return kicks.
And he's the up back. He's not even the deep guy on that play, but he just uses his vision. A lot of times on kickoff returns, you just want to hit a seam and go. But, you know, he made one person miss and then made 11 people miss on that play. And what a play by the former New Hampshire Player of the Year, Curtis Harris Lopez.
This is his 38th career game, but a newcomer to James Madison University. Transferred from Holy Cross, played there from 21 to 24, so another Crusader contributing to the purple of James Madison. And we also chatted with Coach Chesney a little bit about the status of the special teams at this point of the year, and that's certainly one of the biggest explosive plays we've seen.
Well, they've been close. I mean, you know, Wayne Knight had that return back at Weber State that got called back because of a hold, and this time no laundry on the turf. Curtis Harris Lopez takes it to the house. What a good play for that young man who's not playing a lot at the safety position. So nice to see him come in and contribute in special teams.
You're right. I mean, his vision was very apparent there because he cut it back to the middle. I was expecting him to come to the sideline and try to find his way up there, but then he cuts up, and by the time he got to midfield, he saw a lot of open space, and he ran towards the marching Royal Dukes, who are up on their feet. They're going to provide us with some halftime entertainment, as they always do.
Well, a lot of times a short kick like that kind of plays out like a punt return. That looked more like a punt return rather than a kickoff return. So good vision by him to find the open seam.
Rosa will kick off for the Dukes. He handles these kickoff duties. Redshirt junior from Shelton High School, transfer from Central Connecticut State.
And this is going to be a big drive for Georgia Southern right here. I mean, they have to make a response to that big play, get some of that momentum back. They do not want to go back into halftime with this big deficit.
And that's into the end zone. By the way, that win for James Madison last week against Liberty was the 100th victory for the program against teams from the Commonwealth of Virginia, 21 in a row. And so JMU's all-time record against teams from the Commonwealth, 100 wins and 61 losses. That would be a good baseball average.
That's pretty impressive. I think there's a team over in Charlottesville last night that heard all this ruckus about the Kings of the Commonwealth over here in Harrisonburg, and they went out and got a big win last night over the Seminoles.
Yeah, that's the first time they beat them in Charlottesville since 1990, I think it was.
1995.
95,
yeah.
was it? Okay. Yeah. It was a long time ago. And this time, nowhere to go for French as he is wrapped up. That'll go down as a sack for James Madison. A lot of black jerseys finding their way into the backfield. Gannon Weathersby comes up from the linebacker spot. It's he and Trent Hedrick, the linebackers, certainly doing their jobs here today. Weathersby 5'10", and he is from Atlanta, Georgia. So he might know a few of these guys from days past.
And that looked like Big Manny Bush getting in on the action in the backfield.
Daniel Bush, 6'1", 350 pounds. There's a little seam, but it closes down pretty quickly. Good job by keeping a hand on the football for O.J. Arnold, as looked like the helmet of Culp came in and made contact with the football. Tyler Brown, give him credit for making the stop as well. 3rd down and long.
Yeah, and Tyler Brown, again, one of those safeties for James Madison that likes to come up in the run fit, play really aggressive, not afraid to tackle. Same with Elijah Culp. I've been so impressed by his physicality over the course of this season. He's a corner that can cover, but also likes to get in and make plays in the backfield.
4 out of 9 on 3rd downs. In motion goes Bradshaw. French looking to his left, throws, and that ball is it intercept. Oh no, it's dropped. Had a couple of opportunities, both for Bradshaw to maybe come up with a big catch. And was that Hendrick? Yeah, Hendrick also there. Duke's dropped a couple of would-be interceptions last week. Now, one of them was out of bounds. I think it was a close call,
it was a pretty good play by Elijah Cole.
It was.
He's been close on a couple this season.
Last year, of course, the Dukes, one of the national leaders in creating turnovers and turnover margin. It hasn't really happened thus far this year, but JMU expects those things to come eventually.
That's right. Now, and by the way, the defense broke that pass up. The secondary did, but that play was made by the defensive line by putting pressure on French.
Ball will roll over and out of bounds. Yeah, I asked Coach Hitch the other day too that how much does the defensive line impacting the actual pass defense, because your defensive line is putting pressure on that helps the secondary, right?
No, it absolutely helps the secondary, and J.C. French is a quarterback that when you speed him up in the pocket, he is not as accurate, and you can see there that last pass was behind the receiver, and so I think their game plan is to try to speed him up in the pocket and reduce his accuracy down the field.
Now, none of the Dukes defensively, and this is all respectful I'm saying here, have really been monsters or standout. They've had good plays here and there, but nobody has been really, but it has been the collective effort and the rotation that the Dukes are working with.
Yeah, there's no standout. There's no stat leader like a Jalen Green a few years ago.
Yeah, Sam Daniels will be proud of all this, of course, as he coaches the defensive line. That is a second reception for Ellis. Justin Myers there to keep him from going any further, but he picks up a first down, does Ellis.
And really clean pocket for Alonzo Barnett III. Had plenty of time to let that route develop.
Landon Ellis from over in Orange County, Virginia, went to Woodbury Forest, a private school there. Last week, 3 receptions for 40 yards and a touchdown. He's got 2 touchdowns on the season. Barnett can't find anything open there. He's going to come to this side. Still gets rid of the football, and just there's a senior play for you. Realizing let's not force it here. Caleb Moore putting some pressure on.
Yeah, and Landon Ellis tried to put on a double move on the corner. Really experienced corner up there for Georgia Southern, Tracy Hill Jr. Didn't bite. And so Alonzo Barnett III had to eat it.
All right, so we're at the 2-minute timeout in college football. So we'll step aside for our final timeout of this half. Don't forget, we've got halftime activities coming your way as well. David Halvey will have some of that for you. The Dukes leading at 21-3, and they've got the football with a 2-minute timeout. All right, 21-3, James Madison leading Georgia Southern. We've got a personnel development happening on the JMU sideline. Let's go down to Dave Hulby.
Hey, Kurt, I wasn't able to see exactly what happened. What I can tell you is just star tackle Pat McCurtry was on the sidelines, and he was being looked at for quite a while by the training staff, was not in, and he's still not in, still on the sidelines. So that is a developing story. Again, not exactly sure what happened, but he was being checked out for quite a while.
All right, looks like Deacon Rawls is going in on the line for James Madison. Rawls, a 6'5", 310-pound redshirt freshman from Elizabeth City, North Carolina, but he went to high school with the Chiefs of Kempsville, and that's where Scott Lim, who won the Remington Award as the top center in the country back in 2008. Now the head coach at nearby Bridgewater College. He's also a Kempsville alum. That with McMurtry being out. So 1:58 to go. The Dukes are going to go for it quickly. And overshooting the intended receiver, who was Ellis, is Barnett. Jakari Brown was the man trying to work stride for stride.
And that doesn't surprise me that they took a shot there. As we see McMurtry, looks like he's standing up, looks like he's doing okay. But it doesn't surprise me that they took a shot there. Dean Kennedy likes taking shots, and especially in those situations on second down. But now they're in that third and long situation, and so we'll see what they dial up to try to pick up this first down.
Now it stops the clock, of course, with 1:54 to go. So Georgia Southern may be smelling a chance for another chance at the football here. Barnett, he's going to run with it. He runs into some white jerseys, and he puts on the brakes at the 45-yard line. Can't advance any further, and that's a fourth down and a timeout called wisely by Georgia Southern, I do believe.
And that's a coverage sack. I mean, really good coverage.
Georgia Southern.
By that Georgia Southern.
First charge of the half. 30 seconds in length.
By that
please
Georgia
reset
Southern
the game
secondary.
clock to 1:45, please.
Yeah, they like to play one safety in the middle of the field oftentimes, but you know, they can also move things around a little bit and can confuse you at times.
Yeah, they like to rock and roll the safeties. I mean, they'll come out and they'll look like they're in a two-safety high formation, which to the quarterback could signal cover two, and then they'll roll one safety back, one safety up, and run some sort of cover three zone. And I think that time they probably confused Barnett a little bit and couldn't find anybody open downfield.
So it looks like the Dukes will have to put the football back in the hands of Georgia Southern. Eagles would certainly like to get something on the board here. They got their field goal, make it 14-3, but then the kick return for the score on the ensuing kickoff by Harris Lopez.
And they have a true freshman back to return this punt, Peyton Plott. He had a muff punt against USC, so definitely want to try to secure this ball, especially with this weather.
He is 5'7", 160 pounds, from Auburn High School in Alabama. There's some Auburn ties to this Georgia Southern program, particularly through. Whoa, that one gets over the head, racing for it, picking it up, and he's still going to kick the ball, but he doesn't get it off very well, and that ends up not being a pretty situation for James Madison. Couple of options there. I mean, he could have scooped it and taken it into the end zone, given up the safety, but I guess you don't want to give up any points, obviously. And you get hurried in those circumstances. Bob Chesney talking to him now. What do you do in that circumstance?
Yeah, and that's another one that, you know, you just got to chalk up to the weather. I mean, that ball's probably pretty slippery. Long snap is a very specialized position, and anything like weather kind of throws off your timing.
So this puts Georgia Southern in excellent position to close this 18-point gap, and I'm sure they're thinking touchdown right here with 1:36 to go. Plenty of time for the guests from Statesboro. French settles things down.
And I look down at the bottom of the screen, you got Camden Brown.
But they flare it out to the outside, and trying to pull it out there is Cobb.
It's a good play call. Really good play call by Ryan Applin. Go quick, get the ball into the hands of your playmaker, Dalen Cobb. I wouldn't be surprised to see them take a shot here at the end zone, though, to Camden Brown.
I like the way Cobb finished that play because he got right up on his blocker and then chose which way to go to pick up the additional yards. He did not commit early, so picks up the yardage. Second down, though, and about 3. Handoff, trying to bounce it to the outside. Not much doing there. Is that Badinga? Yes.
Good patient run by David Badinga, pressing the hole, reading his blocks and getting positive yards, putting them in a 3rd and short situation.
Terry Lockett makes the tackle. Badinga again, and he is smothered. Go Byra and Gannon Weathersby.
Well, that was a really good ball fake because they fooled my play-by-play guy. I think J.C. French kept it on that play.
He did. Oh, my gosh.
Indeed,
they did.
Timeout.
Wow.
Georgia Southern. Their second charge of the half. 30 seconds in the league.
Fooled everybody but Gannon Weathersby's right there to make a big-time stop for James Madison. And now this is decision time. I mean, Kurt, I don't know what you think about right here. You got a chance to get 3 on the board, but you also want to keep this drive going, capitalize on the turnover.
A momentum play, a sudden change. It's a game of emotion. Usually in this situation, and 21-6 versus 21-10, quite a difference.
Yeah, if I'm Clay Helton, I'm keeping my offense on the field here. I'm gonna, maybe hand it off to David Badinga. He's a small guy who Clay Helton said can really get skinny in the hole, usually falls forward. I'm going to trust Badinga to pick up this first down, keep the drive going, and get some momentum for this offense coming out of halftime.
Well, you got Bush over the football for James Madison in the middle. Pressing to the sideline. The boundary is Camden Brown. Should have Culp up on him. Hendrick, the linebacker, gets over outside the defensive end. Trying to run with the football is the big guy, and he will not get it. It's a change of downs for James Madison. The gamble does not work for Georgia Southern, and Gannon Weathersby eventually helps to bring down the big fella.
And that is a big-time stop for this James Madison defense. I mean, they brought the grown man, Weston Bryan, into the game. I thought Weston Bryan was maybe a little too patient there. At some point, you got to make a decision and try to get north and south. I understand what he's trying to do there because the defense got so much penetration. But what a big-time stop there for James Madison.
Yeah, that's the type of play, Delvin, when your defense can bail you out of a bad situation, it goes a long way to a successful season. And that's one of those that you may go back and circle in that circumstance, because that could have changed definitely the momentum.
That's it.
Now, JMU does get the football coming out of the locker room at halftime. After halftime, 1 minute remaining for JMU to move the football here in Georgia Southern to keep the score at 21-3. The handoff goes right up the middle. Whirling is Knight, and Jacob Ferguson rides him on down.
And it looks like James Madison may not try to be overly aggressive here, starting that drive with a run play.
And again, a run. This time it's Knight picking up the first down. That's with 38 seconds to go. Timeout called probably by JMU. Nope, just going to move the chains.
And a lot of times when you see, this type of success on first down, second down, and these, situations right before the end of the half, it might prompt you to try to take a shot, see if you can get one downfield. The thing they don't want to do is give the ball back to Georgia Southern here. So I would expect they would continue to be very conservative.
Clock is running, 23 seconds to go. And the Dukes, there's 15 on the play clock, so they'll get one play off here at the very least. Handing it off again to Knight. Knight into the open field of the 40, down to the 50. Nearly to the 50, that is. He stopped at the 47-yard line. Aiden Jackson stops him there. 10 seconds remaining. Clock is stopped as they move the chains.
Now I call timeout here.
And that's what they're doing. This is a little bit less risky in this situation, given the time and the field position.
30 seconds in lead.
That's it. I mean, you got two more timeouts, right? And so you got an opportunity to try to get the ball downfield, really quick pass, and maybe get in the field goal range.
Dukes have missed a field goal here today. Suarez wide on his attempt.
I'm really impressed with this offensive line for James Madison, though. Their ability to control the line of scrimmage. You know, we saw that a little at Liberty, of course.
To 11 seconds. 11 seconds, please. Thank you.
We also saw that against Weber State, and so the question was, coming into this game, what do they look like against Sun Belt teams? And so far, I think the answer is affirmative. They have a very, very dominant offensive line. Run game coordinator Chris Smith has to be excited about the way this game is going for the offensive line.
By the way, for Wayne Knight, he had hit 89 yards a couple of times in his career. He's over 100 yards in today's ball game, 115. The last 100-yard rusher, George Pettaway, against Western Kentucky. That was in the Boca Raton Bowl last year. Barnett has to throw it away. They'll get another playoff. That just ate about 4 seconds off the clock.
Good decision there by Barnett. Yeah, so that Boca Raton Bowl was against Clay Helton's brother, Tyson Helton.
Yeah, one of the things that Helton said, Clay Helton, was he was happy when JMU came to Statesboro early in the year, because he felt like, and that was obviously, as he said, when you take over a program, it's like drinking from a fire hose, right?
That's right.
And so
there's no foul.
Once Bob Chesney got things and got his feet situated and planted here, you could see that progress of James Madison, the successful in the historical season, winning. They're 1 out of 2 in winning bowl games. Now, kind of scratched that one the year before with all the circumstances, with Kurt Signetti leaving in the middle of all that.
Yeah, both of these coaches have a lot of respect for one
another. They
do,
and no doubt. This is make that
Jordan
Fuller, yep, carrying the football, and that's the final play of the half. So Fuller ends the half, and Wayne Knight with a very good first half. I mean, he's on his way to a great day.
And the offensive game plan for James Madison, I think, showing up in a big way. Run the ball, take shots when you can. And right now, they've got a commanding lead going into halftime.
All right, that's the fewest points the Dukes have allowed at halftime since JMU gave up no points against Marshall last November. And the fewest points allowed by halftime at JMU in a conference opener since keeping Maine off the board in 2021. 21-3, JMU with the advantage. We're at halftime at Bridgeport Stadium. We'll be back with our halftime show in just a few moments as you're watching Sunbelt football on ESPN+. James Madison with a 21-3 lead over Georgia Southern here at intermission. The Dukes with 251 yards of total offense on 36 plays. 36 plays for Georgia Southern, 116 yards. One of the most exciting plays of the first half came after Georgia Southern had cut the lead 14-3 with a Bryant 26-yard field goal, and the ensuing kickoff was a bit short, and Curtis Harris Lopez fielded it at the 12 and took it back 88 yards for the score. And that sudden change made it 21-3 after the Suarez point after. And the Dukes have the lead here at the break, 21-3. All right, we'll take another timeout. We'll be back with more of our halftime.
Halftime here at Bridgeforth Stadium, and a dominating 21-3 lead for James Madison over Georgia Southern. Well, talk about dominating. JMU field hockey has also done a really good job, and what a win they're coming off of. 5-0 against the Lancers of Longwood. Also 5 different goal scorers in that match. It all started with Julian Arleski able to put one through the cage early on, and after that it just continued for the Dukes. Skylar tabbed a goal. Alice grouper, picked up a goal, and a few others were able to flurry him in. This James Madison field hockey team ranked number 18 in the country after a top 10 win against Michigan just a week ago. They also beat Central Michigan. Head coach Christy Morgan, she's got this team rolling, and she hopes to continue that as they step into their second year of the MAC Conference. Well, also for the Dukes, they've got a date with App State. That's the next match. But the next match that will be broadcasted here on ESPN Plus in Harrisonburg will be James Madison versus the Blue Devils of Duke. Duke, a top 10 team in the country at number 7. And Coach Christy Morgan will hope to guide her team to another top 10 victory here in 2025. And James Madison, they take on Duke. That's just a few weeks away. Halftime here at Bridgeforth Stadium. The James Madison football team, a 21-3 lead over Georgia Southern.
In applauding the 2025 Family Member of the Year.
We're at halftime. James Madison leading Georgia Southern 21-3 here at Bridgeforth Stadium in Harrisonburg, Virginia. Sun Belt Conference opener for both teams. And let's get into some Sun Belt news. Standings and our scoreboard for today. South Alabama was down to North Texas, so making a run at the undefeated Mean Green at 28-22. That is, of course, late with under 3 minutes remaining in that one. Arkansas stayed out early on ULM 7-0. That is in the first quarter. Old Dominion hosting Liberty tonight down in Norfolk. That's a 6 o'clock start. Jackson State at Southern Miss, both teams at 2-2. App State has gone out west to face Boise State, the Broncos, and Marshall, Louisiana. Louisiana, the next team to come here to Bridgeport Stadium as the Dukes head to Georgia State next weekend. So Marshall and Louisiana battling tonight. That's a late game at 8 o'clock. Let's take a look at standings now. This is early in the Sun Belt schedule, of course, so Coastal Carolina does have the one victory. And then you have App State with the loss in conference play, and Southern Miss with a win, and South Alabama with a loss. Everybody else just getting things started for the most part. And you see Texas State, the only team with 3 victories thus far this season. James Madison going for win number 3 here today, but they've still got 30 minutes, and Georgia Southern certainly would like to make a comeback, which they've done here before. There was a game back here in 1991, I believe it was, when JMU went up 21-0 and ended up Georgia Southern came back and won that game 24-21 here at Bridgeport Stadium. But that was before the expanded stadium in the earlier days of this series. We're at halftime, 21-3. We'll be back with nearly the start of the second half when we return. Welcome back, everyone, to Bridgeport Stadium. James Madison leading it 21-3 here at intermission of this Sun Belt Conference opener for both teams. Well, Delvin, you look at early on in this game, when we talked about the weather in the opening, and obviously it's very apparent that the weather was affecting the passing game. The ball was a little slick. Receivers weren't pulling in passes that were actually on target. I mean, not in the chest, but in the neighborhood, right? So you have to make the adjustment. The running game has been big for the Dukes, nearly 200 yards. They're averaging 8 yards per carry. Now, the 40-yarder makes a big difference for Wayne Knight, whereas for Georgia Southern, 34 yards on just 20 carries. That's less than 2 yards a pop.
Yeah, we knew coming in that this James Madison offense wouldn't have to necessarily do anything flashy in order to move the ball, and we haven't seen flash. We've seen turnaround, hand the ball off to Wayne Knight, and that guy's been performing in this game.
So here are your overall numbers. As I mentioned, 196 yards on the ground. Neither team getting the ball out as far as passing all that much. You do have the 30-yard pass completion that was big in setting up the one field goal opportunity that Georgia Southern cashed in. And then 251 yards total offense for JMU, 116. And then third down conversions. The Dukes have not been into too many situations where they are in third down, just the 6 and 4 for 11. And time of possession actually favors Georgia Southern. Let's take a look at some of the highlight action from the first 30 minutes in today's ball game. We're going to start with Wayne Knight, who's already had a career day.
Yeah, he is so elusive in the backfield. I mean, he makes people miss. He's got really good vision, and then he's also got burst. You know, we think his speed is sort of underrated, and a lot of times when he gets out in the open field, no one's catching him.
He bounces this one to the outside eventually and comes up with a score.
But he can also catch the ball out of the backfield. Wayne Knight is just a consummate running back for this James Madison offense, and Bob Chesney loves him.
No doubt about it. And then the defense for the Dukes of James Madison yielding just 116 yards in the first half, and again coming in as the number 6 ranked defense in the country.
Well, I think the key here is that defensive front has kept J.C. French uncomfortable the entire game, speeding him up in the pocket and allowing the defensive backs to make plays downfield.
Well, and it's been really the formula as we talked to Colin Hitchler, the first-year defensive coordinator here at JMU. Everywhere he's been, the passing defense has been top 10, top 5. And then the way that defensive line just rotating them through, you're seeing a couple of big plays from various individuals, but it's been the collective effort for James Madison.
And talking with him, that's something he's very proud of. I mean, he's very proud of his record in pass defense, but today it's the rush defense that's really showing up big.
This is TJ Hartley kicking off this time, and it comes up shy of the goal line. And again, a nice return for James Madison. Staying on his feet is your return man for the Dukes, and that is Wisłowski. Devin Collier tracks him down, but after a nice return, so the Dukes with excellent field position to start the second half, leading it by 18.
And Wisłowski is a very capable return guy himself. I mean, he had, I think, a 98 or 95-yard return for a touchdown against UVA back when he was at Maryland back in 2023. And, you know, we talked to Bob Chesney yesterday. With the running back room being banged up, they didn't necessarily want to have Wayne Knight returning the kicks, and so we see a couple of guys out there getting it done for the Dukes.
Barnett will keep it himself, cuts it upfield, but nice staying where he needed to be. Brendan Harrington did not bite. That's his 6th tackle this afternoon. The leading tackler in the first half for Georgia Southern was Justin Myers. He had 7 drops.
And great play by Brendan Harrington, keeping his discipline, staying right on Barnett on that play. Brendan Harrington, a transfer from App State. You got to think it's a weird thing for arch rival to transfer to another rival school, but Brendan Harrington getting it done for Georgia Southern.
Dukes have the tight end on the right side. The handoff goes right up the middle to Knight. This time Knight doesn't bounce it to the outside, and he runs into 2 big linemen as Chance Gamble picks up his 3rd tackle of the day, and also there was Caleb Moore to kind of just junk the play up. And this is short 3rd down and long.
And this is a big drive for James Madison coming out of halftime. We saw this somewhat last year, and this is a point of emphasis for Bob Chesney. Can they finish games? Last year they got ahead in some of these games, but they just didn't finish. And so this is a big drive to gain momentum for the second half.
DeGennaro, who does not have a catch today, moves and settles into the slot here on the bottom side of things. The snap goes back. Here comes the blitz. Standing in there. Finds his receiver. It is DeGennaro. And it's good for a first down as he brings it in at the 45-yard line. Justin Myers is there to bring him down one-on-one, but it's a first down for JMU.
And that one was all offensive line. They gave Barnett plenty of time in the pocket. DeGennaro had a crossing pattern that took a while to develop, and the offensive line held up to give him an opportunity to get the ball out to DeGennaro.
That's first down, number 16 for the Dukes this afternoon. Flipping to the other side is Josh Pfeiffer. Pfeiffer did not play in the opener here against Weber, but we saw him in the last couple of games. Very effective last week. Trying to get to the outside. It is Knight. Finds a seam. Gets a block out there, but tracked down from behind. Brendan Harrington shows his speed and brings him down, but another first down for JMU. Make that 17. All right, we're going to check in with David Halvey after this play as he had a chance to talk quickly with both head coaches and their thoughts coming out of the locker room here in the second half. We'll get to that in just a moment. Two receivers to the top side. Again, the tight end to the right. And the handoff to Fuller. Fuller spins and carries a tackler to the 40-yard line. Good run of 4 yards. Harrington with the stop. Let's go down the field level and join David.
Yeah, for Coach Chesney, no shock. He immediately pointed out the penalties to start. He said the two big penalties were absolute killers for us. I asked what the message was in the locker room. He said, stay in attack mode. Don't preserve anything. Don't protect anything. Just attack. For Coach Shelton, he said, we're playing good defense, but it's been the other two phases. We're losing our 1v1 battles in the O-line, and we gave up some critical plays, obviously, on special teams. Right now, it's about playing all three phases of football, and he said JMU's just playing better football than us right now.
That's sort of what happened last year. Georgia Southern played better football than JMU did last year down in Statesboro, and that's kind of been the way things have gone. That ball, oh, it was nearly knocked away, and DeGennaro comes up with a catch, but does he stay in bound? Yes, says the official. You had the cornerback going up trying for the pick, or at least try to knock it down. I think that was Gamble taking a gamble, and DeGennaro comes up with a catch.
And that was a pretty dangerous throw, but a good catch by DeGennaro. The question is whether or not that front foot was out of bounds before he got the back foot.
They're going to take a look. They're going to review this.
Under video review.
Oh, by the way, we did talk with the replay officials at halftime, and he had a very good point on that botched punt situation.
That's right.
Had Ray thrown the ball to the feet of one of his receivers, it could have gone for an incomplete pass.
Oh yeah, I've never been in that situation, of course. I can imagine the sheer terror in his heart.
Absolutely.
When that ball sailed over his head, but
yeah, so there were a couple of options there, but in the moment, that's kind of a lot to ask for. I was also reminded by Gary Michael, who was here the first time these two teams played back in 1985. It was a rainy day here in Harrisonburg that day, too, and Georgia Southern came in as the #1 team in the country. And I'd like to thank Stick for reminding me of this on social media. The Dukes won that game. It was the first game in this series, which is now at number 12. What do you think there, Delvin?
I think that's a catch. I mean, it looks like he secured the ball and got that foot down in bounds before his other foot landed out of bounds. We'll get a good look at it right here. Actually, it's kind of simultaneous. It's going to be an interesting call. I think it's very, very close because it was ruled a catch on the field. I think there's a pretty good chance this one is upheld.
The ruling of catch is upheld. First down.
There you go. Good call there. We're going to put black and white uniform on you, man.
Hey, man. You don't want that.
By the way, Charles Haley had a pretty good game there in 1985 against these Eagles. You might remember that name.
I remember that name. Played for my 49ers at some point.
Yes, he did. Well, Dallas time. 49ers won 5 Super Bowls. Was the first to do that. Then the quarterback came along and dislodged that record. Fuller finds the seam and then gets the power going inside the 15 down to the 14-yard line. Jackson and Harrington had to combine to bring him down.
Good patient run by Jordan Fuller. I mean, because the offensive line is getting so much push up front, Fuller can just be patient and just wait for it to develop.
He's got it again, and it looks like they just want to pound the football coming out of the gate here in the second half.
And nice job by Georgia Southern that time snuffing that out. You see Brendan Harrington actually coming up to the line of scrimmage and making the play at the line of scrimmage, which tells you that Georgia Southern now kind of understands, you know, the game plan for James Madison at this point. Run the football. Their plan is to stop it.
Lowe makes the tackle. And that's his second stop. Defensive tackle on the inside. Again, he's getting a lot more snaps today because Latrell Bullard is out of this ball game today. Did not suit up for today's ball game. Low snap and a pitch over to the right side. It's Wayne Knight. Knight to the 15, trying to get to the 10. Cut down nicely in the open field. And doing so was Aiden Jackson. That's his 5th stop today.
And Aiden Jackson filling in for the injured Prince Green III. You know, he plays a lot like Jacob Thomas for James Madison. He's up in the run fit a lot. He plays very, very physical. And even though he's filling in for Prince Green, he's a very experienced player for Georgia Southern. He played 10 games as a freshman. He started 9 games last year. And so they don't see any drop off by having Aiden Jackson in the defensive secondary.
He had a tackle for loss last week and a pass breakup against the Black Bears of the University of Maine. And Matthew Sluka now in at quarterback for the Dukes. Sluka's going to, oh, nope, he's not going to do anything because the officials say, hang on here, we're going to throw a hanky out.
False start. Offense, number 52, 5-yard penalty. Replay, 3rd down.
That is Carter Sweezy, who's making his 24th appearance and 13th career start. Take a look at it again.
And that was Sweezy just a little overzealous, trying to get, you know, he's going to pull on that play and try to get up to the second level and make a block to spring Sluka, and just a little overzealous.
You know, the penalties were big against the Dukes, against Louisville, and there were some, of course, against Weber State. But last week they did have a number, but they seem to be getting under control with that.
Yeah, I mean, pre-snap penalties drives coaches crazy, and it seems like, you know, they've been pretty disciplined throughout this season so far.
Barnett looks over the middle, got his man, touchdown, JMU. With the catch for the Dukes, Lakota Dupree, the tight end, had a big catch last week, really opened things up in that ball game in Lynchburg last Saturday night, or Saturday afternoon, and here he comes up with the TD catch.
Well, again, great pocket for Barnett, and when Barnett is on, when that guy can zip the ball down the field, nobody throws it better. Great catch by Lakota Dupree. You know, Chesney has talked about the growth of Dupree over the last couple of games. You know, that first game, obviously his first game at tight end after playing defensive end over at Charlotte. And so, you know, that growth, you see it right now, 2 big targets in back-to-back weeks.
10 plays, 67 yards, 551, a 17-yard touchdown toss. Barnett to Dupree, and the Dukes up 28-3. JMU with the lead of 28-3. Again, the Sun Belt opener. Georgia Southern, as a member of the Sun Belt, been in it a little longer than the Dukes, 6-5. The Dukes 2-1. James Madison, throughout the last 3 years in their openers, lost last year at Louisiana Monroe. That was a frustrating 21-19 setback. And then you see back in, that was a grinding game against Troy. Kurt Signetti, still the head coach here at that time, 16-14, and beating App State. They were down big to App State and came back and won. And I remember watching that game, and I'm thinking, oh, everybody's going to say, welcome to big boy football, right?
That's right.
And the Dukes came back and won that one, and it squashed all those things.
You know, I wasn't at that game, but I didn't have a voice after the game.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's into the end zone.
So going back to that last pass by Barnett, you know, what Dean Kennedy has talked about with Alonzo Barnett's growth and coming back into this season after the injury, he said that he's learning to trust his receivers more, right? They're not always going to be wide open. And so, you know, fitting the ball in tight windows, throwing the ball up, giving his receivers a chance to make a play is going to be a big part of his game as this season goes on.
When they were watching the cut up of the offensive plays last week from that game and that catch that Dupree made in with a receiver, a defender on him, the entire room, that's broken up. It should be an incomplete pass. Yep. Although you like the defensive reaction to it, Justin Eaglin breaks it up. But all the quarterbacks are like gleeful because, hey, we got another guy that we can trust just to get it out there. He had shown it in practice, and again, he's transitioning over from defensive end to tight end, and after that catch, you just feel like, okay, you got another guy that you can put it in the area and make a catch.
That's right.
2nd down and 10. French looking, and he makes the reception, just stepping out. Justin Eaglin is there defensively, but a nice catch from Marcus Sanders. If he keeps his balance, he's down the sideline for a score.
Really good throw there by J.C. French, though. You can see his ability when he's got a clean pocket, stands in there, delivers a strike on the other hash. Big arm strength by J.C. French IV.
French 11 out of 19. He's going to pass it again. No, he's going to pull it down and run with it, and he just slides underneath Trent Hendrick, who is coming in. So the Dukes over 300 yards after that last drive, 323 to be exact, and Georgia Southern up to 129. And for French, he's at 95 yards passing.
Well, French is a tough athlete, tough competitor. You know, they couldn't say enough about how he's changed his body. He lost 10 pounds, went down to 8% body fat so he could run the ball more, and it's showing up here in this game because he's taken off several times.
Yeah, and if that guy's doing it, then other guys are going to be doing it too. And this time he goes down. He manages to squirt free of all those black jerseys and gets back to the 35. But Trent Hendrick, he is having himself a ball game today. He is all around the football, and it's 3rd down.
Well, once again, they bring Trent Hendrick up the A-gap, and they haven't really had an answer for that all day. And they're showing it again.
Hendrick out of Richmond, Virginia. And is closing in, and he's tackled, brought down again.
That's Sahir West. And listen, you don't need to bring a linebacker if you can only rush 3 and actually get home. And that time, Sahir West just uses his quickness to get around the offensive tackle. And the offensive tackle didn't stand a chance there. I mean, just an unbelievable play. Sahir West has just a great motor. Last week, he had a career high in tackles at Liberty with 4. And now he adds a sack to his stat column.
Yeah, West, a freshman, redshirt out of Baltimore, Maryland, went to Mount St. Joseph's High School.
He looks like an NFL player.
Punting situation for Smith. Well, that one nearly blocked as Regan got back there. And this time, Wayne will take it in on a fair catch at the 20. Delvin Joyce would have tried to return that one, I think, judging by his reaction here in the broadcast booth.
I want to return them all.
But you told me you lost your speed. 28-3. James Madison with the lead. 6:21 to go in the third.
Lead here, Bridgeforth for James Madison. What a performance it has been. You know, Kurt, Delvin, I thought I was the only guy that had a connection to these two schools, but I'm not. Brian Shore, the tight ends coach for Georgia Southern, was quite the quarterback as a Duke from 2014 to 2017, now back in Harrisonburg. And he said it's kind of weird for him to be back because last time he was in Harrisonburg, he was up in the box, but he's now down on the field. He said it feels like he's living two different lives when it comes to his life as a tight ends coach at Georgia Southern, but he also has family. His wife was a Duke, and she also has 15 family members in attendance right now. She also is pregnant. She had a baby shower, so it's been quite a ride for Brian Shore the past few years, and now enjoying things in Statesboro.
Well, and Coach Helton says he is next on his list is to be a quarterback's coach, and then an offensive coordinator, and then a head coach.
Yeah, I mean, he's a really smart guy. He was a great quarterback here for James Madison, winning that national championship. And, you know, he's the type of prototypical guy that will be a head coach in college football at some point.
All right, so 28-3 here, 2nd and 9 after a gain of just 1 yard on the carry. Barnett, here's some pressure, gets rid of it. He finds Dupree again. Dupree's got a lot of running room. He's got a blocker in front, and he takes it up to the 47-yard line. I may have misspoke earlier when he caught his touchdown. That's his 2nd of the season.
That's right.
I may have mentioned that was his first, so I do apologize on that. Another thing I need to correct, I said in the first half. So this is me relying on a fan telling me something, and I did not research it. Virginia actually had beaten Florida State in Charlottesville a couple of times since 1995. So, yeah.
Hey, I love this play design by Dean Kennedy. This is the first time we've seen this screen pattern for this James Madison offense all season. And, you know, Lakota Dupree takes full advantage of it. I mean, he had so much green grass in front of him. I think if he just keeps running straight, he probably picks up a few more yards.
We'll go back to Brian Shore, too, because he did lead the Dukes to the national championship with Mike Houston as the head coach. And his records, I mean, look at this, 7,078 passing yards. Passing yards, 62 passing touchdowns, 559 completions, 8,241 yards of total offense. Those are all records still here at James Madison, and the Dukes have had a good run of very talented quarterbacks. You know, and so another connection here with the coaching staff is that Justin Riscotti also is friends with Coach Applin.
That's right.
And so these two guys get at one another. Riscotti says, I never lost a championship game. Brian played in 2. Riscotti played in 1. So, you know, any angle that they can rib one another, give it to football players, right? They find any little scene. Competitive.
You got to have thick skin.
And here is Mr. Fuller again rushing the football with Jackson and Collier stopping him at midfield. Bringing up a 2nd down. Wayne Knight will check back in.
Injured player, by the way, I think was number 95, Quan McGinney. Good to see him roll off the field.
McGinney, a backup defensive tackle from Mobile, Alabama. Went to Arkansas State. Floating it out. And pass interference is called against Brandon Tyson. Tyson, your linebacker out there, didn't quite know where the football was and just ends up in a collision.
And that's a tough assignment for a linebacker to cover a running back coming out of the backfield, running full speed on a wheel.
2 fouls on the play. Holding, offense, number 68. Pass interference, 0, defense. Those fouls offset. We'll replay the down.
Like it never even happened.
That's it.
So we'll do it all over again. 4:43 to go in the 3rd quarter. James Madison leading it 28-3.
Yeah, you see the hold right there. Pretty easy call for the official.
Yeah, so the pass interference bails out the Dukes.
And that one was also pretty easy.
Yep. Brings us back down to the 2nd and long 6. Fuller only gains about 1.5 yards. He falls forward. Actually, it looks like right back to the original line of scrimmage, looking at the side judge. Caleb Moore making the tackle. Dukes opened up the season 45-10 win over Weber State, then lost at Louisville 28-14 as the Cardinals pulled away late in that one, and then beat Liberty last weekend 31-13. Georgia Southern going out west. Fresno State 42-14, a loss to the Bulldogs, then lost to the Trojans. USC 59-20, and then wins at home against Jacksonville State 41-34 and Maine 45-17. Over the middle, and the ball is caught out of the backfield is Wayne Knight. Dorian Smith.
Really good patience by Barnett to give Wayne Knight an opportunity to get open. You know, Knight's running sort of an option route out there on the linebacker, and they expect their running backs to win on those option routes. He's got an option to break it out to the flat, come inside, or sit down if it's zone. And in that formation, Wayne Knight broke it in and picks up a big 1st down.
Dukes up to over 350 yards of total offense. 1st down, number 22. Here is Knight. Breaks an arm tackle, but he's corralled at the 44, excuse me, at the 39 rather, and Jacob Ferguson brings him in. Well, JMU fans may remember the first week in January 2017 when the Dukes beat Youngstown State 28-14 for the program's 2nd national title. Brian Shore was the quarterback there. Earlier that same week, just to kind of put things in perspective, number 9 Southern Cal outlasted number 5 Penn State 52-49 before 95,000 fans at the Rose Bowl. Who was the head coach? Clay Helton.
Wow, full circle moment.
Yep.
Yeah.
Trips here to the near side. Barnett out to right. White, excuse me, Knight that is, beg your pardon. And Knight jukes me out of a couple of letters and takes you up to the 26-yard line. Harrington and Collier.
And again, this is just an easy bubble screen concept. If Georgia Southern's going to play off the receiver that much, they're going to take what they give them, and right there, easy 10-yard pickup.
Dukes moving closer to red zone territory once again. It is Fuller. Fuller finds some space here on the outside, down to the 10, and looks like he might have stepped out of bounds, or no, he's in for the score. I thought he might have stepped out at the 5, but my eyes couldn't pick it up that cleanly, and it is a touchdown for Fuller. So Fuller has his first touchdown as a Duke.
And this was not anything fancy, man. This was literally off tackle. It looked like the Georgia Southern defender was just running down the sideline next to him. I didn't think Jordan Fuller had the speed to get there, but somehow he takes it right to the end zone.
So that's point number 34, and point number 35. It is through the uprights, and the Dukes have the 32-point lead on another good drive of 8 plays, 80 yards, 424. Fuller with the score, and it's a 26-yard run for the Six. 34-35-3. James Madison with the lead. Well, it's family weekend here on the campus of James Madison University, and we'll cap off the weekend with a game here on ESPN Plus tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. It's South Carolina, the Gamecocks, and the Dukes of James Madison in Sunbelt men's soccer. You can watch that again on ESPN Plus. We got the Dave and Dave Show. It's David Hulvey on the play-by-play. Hall of Famer Dave Lombardo, former women's soccer coach here at James Madison, on the color as a color analyst. And right now, JMU volleyball is playing at App State. Lost to the Mountaineers yesterday, 3-1. They're up 2-1 in set 4, and the Dukes are up by a couple in that one right now. Speaking of men's soccer, the men's soccer program at Georgia Southern, it is off and rolling. They host number 4 Marshall tonight, and the Eagles are number 19, so they've got a big matchup in Statesboro. That's 7 o'clock. Eagles are 7-0-1 overall, 1-0 in the Sun Belt. So that's a big matchup in Sun Belt action tonight between the Eagles and the Marshall Thundering Herd. Rosa kicks off into the end zone once again. In that drive, 8 plays, 80 yards, 424. And Fuller with his first touchdown as a Duke. Duke scored 7 in the first, 14 in the second, 14 thus far in the third, and the 3 points for Georgia Southern came in the second. JMU over 400 yards of total low now.
And that's Jordan Knight's 45th of his career. I mean, all this guy does is score touchdowns. You can see how he's built. That's all he does.
In motion, coming here to the near side, and they're going to flip it out underneath, and here's a flag coming in, likely pass interference, a little early contact potentially. Ken Willis in there in the secondary for the Dukes.
Holding defense, number 23. a 10-yard penalty, previous spot, automatic, first down.
Okay, so you wipe out that play, and they just move it up, and it ends up as a first down at the 35.
And now it's go time for Georgia Southern. I mean, they've got to go quick here. Obviously, they've got a huge deficit, but they've got to get up to the line and get plays called and get going.
Yeah, they've run 42 plays. The Dukes have run 54. Taking the handoff and over the top and tripped up. Here comes a flag again. Marcus Sanders, the intended receiver, but Mekhi Rogers got tangled up with him. So a couple of back-to-back penalties against JMU, helping Georgia Southern to move down the field.
Another easy call for the official there.
Yeah, Ryan Applin, again, the offensive coordinator.
Pass interference, defense, number 1. 15 yards, previous spot, automatic, first down.
35-year-old offensive coordinator. Played at Arkansas State under Hugh Freeze. He's currently the head coach at Auburn, who has a birthday today. He turns 56. This Coach Freeze, who spent some time with the Liberty Flames as well. And there's the flag again we see. Yeah, Applin, a legend in Jonesboro, leading the Red Wolves to a couple of Sun Belt titles. Over the top, and the ball is caught, stays on his feet, moving to the 10, caught from behind, and that is Camden Brown, the big playmaker. Drew Spinagatti, the linebacker, catches up to him and prevents the touchdown, at least for now.
And again, J.C. French, time in the pocket. Receiver makes a double move, gets behind Elijah Culp.
Eagles trying to go in a hurry. They put Sanders in motion. The handoff goes to O.J. Arnold, that is.
I remember O.J. Anderson, though.
Yeah. Spinagatti gets to him this time, so he's made back-to-back tackles, one upfield and one downfield.
Illegal shift, offense, 2-minute motion in the backfield. 5-yard penalty, replay.
Little
first down.
Canadian football action going on with two men in motion.
Yeah, Spinagatti's a tackling machine. You know, he's had a couple of games this season where he just shot the A-gap and made the play in the backfield. He's got 2 tackles for loss on the season, 2.5 tackles for loss on the season.
Another one of the transfers that has followed Bob Chesney from Holy Cross to Harrisonburg. 1st and 10. Dropping back, finds the open receiver and throws it behind him. And the intended receiver tumbling down is the tight end, Amon Green. Green, 6'2", 245-pounder from Columbia, South Carolina, and a transfer from Georgia State.
Yeah, that was kind of a mesh concept. You know, they run the slot guy or the tight end up the field. Amon Green runs up the field to try to create a little bit of a pick for the receiver. French just missed him on that one.
Puts him in motion this time. French looks left, goes right, finds a little open seam, and the touchdown pulled in by Taylor Bradshaw. Eagles get their first TD of the day, and it's a redshirt sophomore from Jacksonville, Florida, that scores. That's his first touchdown of the season.
And good patience by J.C. French to stand in there. And the placement on that pass, that was spectacular.
So the point after, coming off the toe of Trip Bryant, with Alex Smith, the holder. Long snapper should be Jackson Wheeler, who's wearing number 0 this week.
Okay, so you may have noticed that we're holding
And the extra point is good.
Yeah, they rotate that number 0 at Georgia Southern. It's the guy that needs 0 accountability. It's the guy that everybody can trust. And so great honor for him this week to wear that number 0 for Georgia Southern.
And that was the first career touchdown for Taylor Bradshaw. And it happens here at Bridgeport Stadium in Harrisonburg. And it makes the score 35-10 after the point after.
And that was a big drive by Georgia Southern. I mean, listen, it's the game sort of getting out of hand right now in the third quarter. That was a big answer, 35-10. And again, that was only the 5th touchdown allowed by JMU's defense this season.
Now, there were a lot of guys on the depth chart that were in there that time, so it was a little sloppy. And a couple of big penalties also provided some yards, 25 yards in penalty that time given up to Georgia Southern. And the Eagles, well, they do what they need to do, capitalize on those circumstances.
Yeah, I wonder if Colin Hitchler likes those penalty yards. They don't show up in the stat column, right? But they do show up in terms of production on the field.
Just 40 seconds to play in the third. And this is a short kick to the 6. And brought up to the 19-yard line. Braden Wisłowski, transfer from the University of Maryland.
And listen, this game is not over. I mean, I know a lot of the crowd has kind of left, but this game is not over. It's still a ball game. And, you know, I think it's very important for James Madison. As you said earlier, Bob Chesney said he wants to keep his foot on the gas. It's very important that they go down here and at least chew up some of the time on this clock in the second half.
The Dukes are staying with Alonzo Barnett at the quarterback here in the third quarter, 35-10. New bodies out there. Maybe we'll keep an eye on that as well. Here's the handoff, and actually it's Barnett. Barnett's got the open space. He's down through the hashes to the 25. There is a flag down back at the 24-yard line. Barnett, if it holds, his longest career run, but I'm afraid this one may come back.
Holding offense, number 13. 10 yards, previous spot. Replay first down.
Where that happened, I don't know that it had any influence on the play whatsoever, but that's the name of the game.
Correction, spot of the foul.
Well, that call is on Landon Ellis. You know, the big plays happen usually when the receivers are blocking downfield, and it sounds like that time Landon Ellis got caught maybe with a hold.
Well, that'll come all the way back.
And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Sluka on this next play. Barnett has to be gassed.
And that's exactly what's happening. You see number 9 come in. Good call there, Coach.
Well, I've just maybe taken a couple to the house, and so I know how that feels.
Yes, you have. You did that quite often. Now Josh Pfeiffer checks back in. So back, it ends up as a 1st and 15 now for James Madison, and Sluka has it. Sluka will tiptoe his way through. He just glides and slides and finds his way. All right, we do have take a look back again.
Yeah, you can kind of see. Now you can't really see the hold anywhere on that play.
That's the end of the third quarter, so we'll take a timeout as we go into the fourth. James Madison up by 25. 35-10 is our score, and we'll be back with our fourth quarter. The Dukes and the Eagles. Sun Belt Conference opener on a soggy Saturday in Harrisonburg.
This pain, it don't want me to grow, but I'm being led to my destination, driven by motivation. What you call a slow creep, I call pacing. Patience, destiny is what I'm chasing.
quarter, James Madison leading at 35-10. The Dukes have racked up 415 yards of total offense and held Georgia Southern to 179 total. Up to 150 yards passing is French. He is 12 of 21. The one touchdown toss. Barnett 10 of 18, 143 yards on an afternoon that's been difficult to throw the football, and more so to catch the football. Wayne Knight 135 yards rushing. That is a career high. He had a 40-yard run in the first half. Fuller has 95 yards on 11 carries. That's kind of sneaky.
Very sneaky.
That just kind of jumped out there. 95 yards.
And I know it got called back, but really good to see Alonzo Barnett III showing off the speed and breaking free and taking one to the house.
That would have been an 81-yarder without the holding call, but and his career long is 50 against Old Dominion. Players out here. Sanchez with the catch. Over to the 26-yard line. Talon is a senior from North Bergen, New Jersey, and a transfer from Villanova. Jacob Ferguson wraps him up.
And that play's been there all day for James Madison. Really easy concept. Get the ball to your receiver out on the boundary. Let him pick up 4 or 5 yards. Now this becomes third and short, which is a very manageable play call for Dean Kennedy.
Evan Bushong now the center for the Dukes. The Dukes are without Brett Davis, so Bushong typically listed as the number 3 center. He is over the football now. Snaps it back to Barnett. Barnett airing it out, looking for Ellis, and Ellis, well, hand fighting out there as well. It's incomplete. Devin Collier is stride for stride with him.
And really, really good coverage. I think Landon Ellis probably has an opportunity to catch this ball if he keeps running. A lot of times you start looking back and putting your hand up, and that slows you down. If he keeps running, he might run right under that pass.
Camden Brown's had another good day. He's got 5 receptions on 6 targets for 111 yards and 31 yards after the contact, along of 43.
Now this is actually a big play. You know, the last snap on a punt went over his head, so
it's a little more routine. Gets it off. A little flat, whirling around, and the punt return. It's Culp that catches the man from behind. And that return was done by Peyton Plott, a freshman, with the punt return honors today. Timeout here at Bridgeport Stadium with 13:59 to go in this Sun Belt opener. We'll return with more of college football action on ESPN Plus after these messages. Let's see. 35-10 our score as we're early in the fourth quarter of play. Georgia Southern opening conference play on the road here in 2025. And here's the rest of the schedule. They are off next weekend, and then they have Southern Miss and Georgia State. So a couple of home games at Paulson, which is a place that's very difficult to play. So certainly looking ahead to October to be a big month for the Eagles. And then traveling to Arkansas State. They have another bye week in there before they face App State, which is a big time rival for them as well. And the Southern Miss contest, by the way, is a Thursday night contest. And Hedrick with the sack in the backfield for the Dukes as Trent gets in. Hendrick coming down with the sack.
Again, that's that same concept up front for James Madison. Georgia Southern has not had an answer for that all game.
You see it here once again. Yeah, nobody touches him. It gets kind of a flyby, a hand on him. Stop and go for Brown. Dumps it underneath to Cobb. Tyler Brown of James Madison with the tackle. He had 5 at the break.
And good play by Cobb, sitting down in the zone. You could tell James Madison was in the zone because nobody went with the motion guy. A lot of times teams will run a motion just to see if they could tell if you're in man-to-man or zone. That time, Cobb finds the soft spot right in that zone for James Madison and picks up the first down.
Actually, it's going to be a 3rd and 10. So the sticks kind of got you fooled there.
Oh, that's right.
Yep. So trips on the far side. French straight back. Here comes Trent. But he gets the ball out this time as he finds Badinga coming out of the backfield. He does not pick up the first down. It leaves him shy about 3 yards. And from his defensive end spot, Gobira tracks him down. And here comes a punting unit back on.
And they had James Madison on that play, but Dinga's got to keep running that ball to the sideline, use his speed to pick up that first down. By cutting inside, he pretty much gave the defender an opportunity to grab him and keep him from getting that first.
Smith to punt for the 7th time today. A healthy average, 45.2 with a long of 48. So he's been very consistent. And Knight is wrestled down, has got him on the ankles. And the tackle by Cheney, a freshman. Brings us to another timeout here in Harrisonburg. The Dukes with a 35-10 advantage, and the Dukes have the football back. They'll have it at their own 12 when we return.
the depth of this James Madison defense is tremendous. And I tell you what, such a cool story is Aiden Gobira, one of the defensive ends for the Dukes. He was a 4-star recruit out of high school, went to Notre Dame, but ended up medically retiring from the Fighting Irish. He had a torn ACL, MCL, and meniscus. That was back in 2023. When he entered the transfer portal, he said it was really tough because of the label of being medically retired. There were a lot of schools that just didn't reach out, but Bob Chesney gave him a call, and he said it was one of the easiest decisions he had to make. It was a no-brainer. Of course, at Liberty, 2 sacks for Gobira. And I love what Trent Hendricks said. He said Gobira just needed some time to thaw out. I asked Gobira about that, and he said, I couldn't agree more. You can't rush it. If you rush it, it just won't taste good. Gobira, been a very good addition to this defense.
When Trent said that last week in the post-game press conference down at Liberty, everybody's eyebrows raised like, oh, that's a great line. We got to make sure we get that in. So,
like Austin Powers.
Yeah, that's right, yes. And a little toss here to Wayne Knight.
I love Gobira with the sideburns, though. I mean, you don't see that.
Old school.
Yeah, that is old school, man. He's a throwback.
All right, Dukes pick up 4 yards on the first down play. A couple of shout-outs. I do want to shout out to Georgia Southern volleyball head coach Chad Willis. He just picked up his 100th coaching victory Thursday night. They ended up sweeping Old Dominion Thursday and Friday to start the conference at 2-0. The Eagles are 11-2 in volleyball. And there's the handoff to Fuller, and he puts the shoulders down and runs into Aiden Jackson, but he picks up the first down. Willis is a James Madison alum and doing great things with Georgia Southern's volleyball program. Also a shout out to Dr. Lynn Rose and Judith. They're watching on ESPN Plus. Former president of James Madison University, watching from down in Florida.
Great president.
And there's Fuller again. And look at the defender just jumping on is Brendan Harrington, and Fuller takes him for about a 3-yard ride.
Yeah, Fuller is a load, and they're not really doing anything complicated right now. It's a gap, it's off tackle, and they're just giving the ball to Fuller and letting him run downhill. He's a tough guy to bring down when he gets going. He's usually the hammer and not the nail as a running back.
He's over 100 yards rushing, and this is the 8th time in his career he's rushed for at least 100 yards. So the Dukes have 2 100-yard rushers in Knight and Fuller on a day when the Dukes felt they were a little thin in the backfield coming in. So that says a lot about that offensive line as well, I think. A stoppage of play.
Ball start. Offense, number 75. 5-yard penalty. Replay. Second down.
Ball start against the Dukes.
Correction, 73.
Well, I think coming into the season, they felt like they could run the ball against teams, especially in the Sun Belt. And Dean Kennedy said that has been the key for them, being efficient on first down, putting the team in short yardage situations on third down. I think we're going to see a lot more run for the rest of this game. I don't see them putting the ball in the air.
Well, the Dukes with the 2 running backs, or 2 rushers with over 100 yards. First time this has happened since 2021. Fuller going to add to that total as he hangs on to the football there. The last time it happened, well, let's hang on. He's not done yet. As he just brings the scrum across the chains and picks up the first down. That's a run that your offensive linemen have to love.
Yeah, and look at this. I mean, look at the strength of Jordan Fuller. He's a strong guy. You know, a lot of these players on this team say that maybe the 13th man on this roster is the strength and conditioning coach, Grotzky, right? Chris Grotzky. And so right there, that was all Chris Grotzky running that football for Jordan Fuller.
And Grotzky worked with him up at Holy Cross.
That's
before
right.
He comes down here. First time he had ever worked outside the state of Massachusetts. And off again, this is Knight. Knight tries to bounce it to the outside, and he can't find but a couple of yards after that. Getting back to the 100-yard rushers, as Fuller had us occupied there for a second. The last time the Dukes had 2 100-yard rushers in the same game, it was during that spring season of 21 in the first round of the playoffs. Juwan Hamilton, 171 yards. Percy Ajay Obase, 110. And that was against VMI in the first round of the playoffs in 21. Of course, the Dukes made a deep run there, but lost to Sam Houston on the road. Handoff. Knight finds his way, picks his way, continues to move forward up to the 38-yard line. Tyson with the tackle.
And this is such an impressive performance by this offensive line and these running backs. Georgia Southern knows they're running the ball. Everybody in the stands know they're going to run the ball, and they still continuously find a way to pick up 7, 8, 9 yards of rushing per play.
Dukes are honing in on 500 yards of total offense today. They're up to 470. And they've done that on 64 plays. They're starting to really make some separation in a number of these statistics. Flaring it out, and that pass just a little out in front of Wisłowski.
Had a little zip on that ball, but certainly a ball I think Wisłowski would tell you that he should catch. And he had some running room out in front. He had a blocker there.
Yeah, he was still kind of moving away from the ball, you know, towards the sideline, which is a little different. I would think would be a little more difficult ball to catch.
That's a tough catch, especially in these conditions. Yeah. It's a tough ball to catch.
If he steps into it, you know, towards the end zone, might be a little different there. Just some of the fine aspects of it. Here's Fuller. Fuller cuts it inside between the tackles and rumbles across the 40 down to the 37-yard line.
I really like the way Jordan Fuller runs the ball, though. He's got such low pad level, and the person with the lowest pad level wins. And a lot of times in these runs, at the end of the run, he's the guy going for it because of that pad level.
Yeah, going back to talk about the two rushers, the two 100-yard rushers. This is the first time as an FBS program the Dukes have done this.
Wow.
If you think about it, because that was JMU was playing the FCS playoffs in 21, so that was before the move. High snap, pulled down, and somehow he got that ball to Fuller, and Fuller gets through, and he is. If you stayed to watch the latter stages of this game, Fuller has been worth you staying and getting a little more damp out there, I'd say.
Yeah, he is absolutely a talent, and again, very patient. And to actually handle that ball, I mean, that was really, you know, a tough snap for Barnett. For him to actually get the ball to Fuller and Fuller to actually make a first down out of that was impressive.
Yeah, and they haven't had but so many snaps. I mean, the new guy, it's a new rep, right?
That's right.
Dukes are really chewing up the clock here also. Whoop, there's another one. This one gets away, and Barnett will just fall on it. Those are ones where you want to try to make up what just happened, but you're smart just to, you know, eat the football and try to make it up.
Well, he did a great job here. And by the way, the rain has started to pick up here in Harrisonburg. So it's going to be even tougher now, I think, to hang on to the football. But now it's 2nd and long. We'll see if the Dukes put it in the air.
You do have Sanchez moving to this side, as well as Ellis. Receivers haven't necessarily had to have big days today, and it's Knight trying to bounce it to the outside. The speed gets him to the corner, and staying with him stride for stride was Tracy Hill. So Hill strings it out and eliminates the opportunity for Knight to cut it up the field.
Tracy Hill's an impressive player. I mean, he started his career as a walk-on here at Georgia Southern, and you know, we were talking with Brandon Bailey. He said they were looking in the transfer portal for another corner, and then they were like, wait a second, we got a guy here that can actually play. And so they've elevated this guy, and he's performed really well for this Georgia Southern defense.
And Brandon Bailey was defensive coordinator, first of all, up at Buffalo with Mo Lindquist. If you remember Mo Lindquist, I'm sure Mickey Matthews, if he's still watching today, remembers him. And that ball batted down. Lindquist was on Mickey's staff here 2009, 10, 11, I believe it was. And then he went to Texas A&M ultimately, and he bounced around a little bit, became the head coach at Buffalo in 2001, and then Bailey joined him as the defensive coordinator and the safeties coach in 22. At that time, the youngest coordinator in FBS.
Still pretty young.
Yes.
Still pretty young guy.
He's 31 years old, so just a year older than Brian Shore, so that kind of give you that. Yeah, Mo was here from 09 to 2011, so he was on that squad or coaching when the Dukes shocked the world in beating Virginia Tech.
Yeah, it's kind of young on young today. You know, Bailey's 31 and offensive coordinator for JMU, Dean Kennedy, is 34. It's a young man's game.
Well, and they all look young to us now, Jordan.
Well,
Delvin,
you know.
more for me than you, though. More for me than you. All right, 4:28 to go, and the Dukes punt the ball away, holding on to a 25-point advantage. For the Dukes of James Madison, the upcoming schedule on the road, they hit their way to Atlanta to face Georgia State next up. So next weekend, and then Louisiana and Old Dominion here, back-to-back home games for the Dukes. That happens twice this season. The other time in November when Washington State will come across the country. Really excited to have the Cougars come to town. So the Dukes wrapping up September here today, as is Georgia Southern, and bouncing around a little bit. Kells Bush makes the tackle.
And I think they've got a pretty favorable schedule going into their home stretch. You know, they got Georgia State next week. That's going to be a tough one because I think Center Parc Stadium's a tough place to play at times. But then they get to come back, Louisiana, and then Old Dominion. That game, I think, is shaping up to be a pretty big game.
It is.
And that 100-game win streak against Virginia Schools is on the line.
And you said early on when you were here back for the opener against Weber State that you said don't sleep on Georgia State. You liked what you were seeing from them.
Well, I just like that Dell McGee is a really good recruiter, and I think he's brought in some talent. He's got 2 years of continuity there, and I think they're going to surprise some folks, even though they haven't really done it so far this season. That's got the makings of a trap game, though.
And Louisiana coming here, playing Marshall tonight. So you can keep an eye on that one for the next home game for the Dukes. French on the move, escapes, going to keep it himself, and runs out at about the 17-18 yard line. Rogers tracks him down. Well, you have to go back, Delvin, all the way to 2014, the last time the Dukes lost a September home. Wow. Yeah, that's a pretty good streak there. It was actually an overtime loss to the University of Delaware, 30-23 on this date in 2014. So since that time, the Dukes have been winners at home in September.
Well, that's incredible. You know, Georgia Southern talks about the power of Paulson. I think there's also a power of Bridgeforth. I said earlier that Chris Grazzi, the strength and conditioning coach, is the 13th player on the field. That's because these fans at Bridgeforth are the 12th man.
There you go. Well, in what you do, you know the numbers. Smith punts it up again. He's been busy today. Wayne is playing a little dangerously there. And that'll settle on in with 2:43 remaining. Do want to thank Brian Johnston, who is the football contact and athletics communication for Georgia Southern. Really appreciate his professionalism. He actually started getting in touch with us last week to set everything up so that we could talk to the coaching staff at Georgia Southern. And want to thank the staff yesterday as well for the time, or Thursday, for the time that they spent with us. Very inviting, and we had some great conversations with them. You can understand why folks like them there in Statesboro. Yeah. I mean, they really it's a great group. Of course, thanks to the JMU staff as well, and Chris Brooks, the sports information director for football here, athletics communication. And the Dukes making a change here now with the football. That is the man who returned the touchdown for a score in Harris Lopez. I'm sorry, no, that's Jackson McCarter, the carry.
Yeah.
The other 21.
Yeah, the true freshman. And I think that's J.C. Evans in
Evans
at quarterback.
Is out at quarterback, yes.
Yeah, both teams have a J.C. at quarterback.
Loss of 1 on the play, however. Our producer today, Kelly Bowmaster. I assume John Hodges is our director. Is Professor Hodges back there? Good, thank you, John. And Brian Creasy, our technical director today. Ty Comer on replay. Zach Munoz also helping us out over from the Atlantic Union Bank Center, which has been a busy
warning.
place.
Timeout.
And that brings us to our 2-minute timeout. So we'll step aside one last time here before we wrap this one up at Bridgeforth Stadium. 35-10 JMU. $35-10 our score here with just 2 minutes remaining. The Dukes on the road at Georgia State next Saturday. You can watch that on ESPN+. We'll find out on Monday what time the Dukes play against Louisiana the next time they're at home. So be on the lookout for Monday, the next home game for the Dukes. And then it's homecoming after that with Old Dominion. And we won't find out until a week from Monday what time that game will kick off. Also want to thank our spotter today, Kate Carrier. Thanks, Kate. You watch Kate catch a few fly balls on the softball field, swat a few here and there.
We're racing after the.
Are you really?
game.
Okay,
Yeah.
we got the speed. Yes. Kaden Bridges, our stage manager today, will watch. She and I will watch while you race. A spin move and picking up a couple more yards is Jackson McCarter.
Yeah, true freshman out of Bristow, Virginia. 5'11", 190. He's got really good size.
Also want to thank Alonzo Barnett for his input into this week's production.
I missed it.
You missed it? I didn't. He gave me a few insights on today's game.
Oh. And they're just really riding the clock out at this point.
That they are. Evans will keep it. He gets to the outside. Evans to the 50 into Georgia Southern territory, driven out of bounds. Of course, Evans had a really good game in the bowl game last year.
Yeah, he's MVP.
He was that. Yeah, we didn't really get to this, but Kim Helton, who is the father of the head coach here at Georgia Southern and Western Kentucky with Ty Helton, and that's sort of like the Chesney Sr. situation here,
right.
too. So they definitely keep it in the family.
Yeah, he said he calls him and coaches him up, and he says he's the best offensive line coach in the country still, his dad.
He picks and chooses his games to attend. He watches them all. He watches practice and coaches the coaches, as Delvin said. We will talk with Bob Chesney as David Hawley will track him down here at the end of the ball game before we go off the air this afternoon. Do want to thank all the fans of Georgia Southern and fans of the Dukes that tuned in this afternoon to join us. We hope you enjoyed our production. And that will be the final snap of the ball game, as the Dukes will not have to snap the football again as the clock will expire. And this one will go in the book as a 35-10 JMU win. Only the third time in this series the Dukes have won, but since joining the Sun Belt, the pattern remains. The home team ends up as the winning team.
Yeah, and Bob Chesney's got to be very pleased with the performance of his team today. You know, there were a couple of things here and there, a couple of penalties that took points off the board, but overall a very impressive performance for James Madison. Complimentary football all around, offense, defense, and special teams for James Madison today.
331 yards rushing. That's the second 300-plus rushing game this season for the Dukes. They do finish shy of 500 yards of total offense, but more impressively, just kind of keep an eye on the total offense for the Eagles, just 192. So they will stay very well situated among the top defenses in the country. And in the air, 165, as French goes 14 for 24, 165 yards and 1 touchdown. Barnett 11 for 22, 148 yards. And there were a number of drops today. The balls that were accurate. And Knight with 151 yards on 19 carries. Fuller 137 on 16. Both of those guys scored a touchdown, as did Barnett. All right, David has found the Dukes head coach.
Coach, I mean, to start Sun Belt play like this, a dominating performance, what does it say about this team?
Well, I think resiliency is a word I would use, especially after the first quarter. A couple drops in their penalties, a couple things that we just can't do, but I love the way that they just continue to just believe and compete. I think also hats off to this crowd for being here early in the game. Obviously, there's not a lot left at the end, but early in the game to stand out here in the rain and be with us, that means a heck of a lot. And I think, again, we have one of the best fan bases, if not the best fan base in the entire country.
How about the depth of this team? The guy just over your shoulder, and Jordan Fuller picks up a big touchdown. I know you love special teams. Curtis Harris Lopez,
no doubt,
taking one to the house. I mean, the guys that maybe aren't number one on the depth chart, but them stepping up. What does it say?
I mean, it's what we talked about all week, right? We said there's going to be moments against good football teams where different people are going to be called on to do different things that might be a little bit out of their job description. And ultimately, when that light shines on you, are you ready? And will you be revealed? And you watch Jordan out there. Curtis Harris Lopez, what a phenomenal job. And then just everybody else along the way. Zoe threw some really unbelievable passes in some tight windows and just had a lot of poise, and the receivers bounced back. But the way we blocked today, the way we controlled the line of scrimmage was impressive.
Coach, appreciate you. Enjoy
Thanks so
it.
much.
Let's get Jordan Fuller in
All right,
here
good.
now. Jordan, I just asked Coach about you. I know for this group, there's a lot of depth, and there's guys that step up whenever their number's called. For you, GP out, you get the opportunity. I mean, what was working for you so well in a really good defensive spot against Southern?
Well, I think, first of all, our offensive line just played their butts off. I mean, from the first snap, really, from the first drive, getting Wayno loose and then getting me loose. And I think over the course of the game, we just had a mentality that obviously you wake up, it's rainy, you kind of just say to yourself, it's going to be a run-the-ball football game. We know we're kind of light on backs, you know, with a couple guys out. So me and Wayne kind of looked at each other in the morning. We were like, it's going to be on us, and it's going to be on our O-line. And I kind of talked to the O-line at halftime. I said, we're not going to go down. Just push the pile, and let's just keep moving them. And we knew that, you know, if we're a little bit tired, they got to be even more tired because we've been pushing on them all game. So, you know, it's a mentality at some point.
I want to ask you the same thing I asked Coach. To win in this fashion against a good Georgia Southern team, what kind of statement does it make about who James Madison is?
I mean, I think we know who we are in our locker room, so we're not really worried about sending a message to anyone else. But, you know, it does mean a lot. We obviously lost to Georgia Southern last year. A lot of these guys weren't here in this locker room, so that was our message last night, was this is a whole new team. So we're gonna handle this, you know, totally differently, and we're gonna come in here and just play our game and then let the rest, you know, figure itself out.
Jordan, appreciate you. Enjoy the win.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you to Jordan. Thanks to Coach Chesney. And Delvin, if you go and look at this game, you see the box score that Knight and Fuller combined for 35 carries, 288 yards. And to know that they didn't have Petaway, they didn't have Jacoby, Mallory, you know, just all these guys. That's got to send nightmares to some defensive coordinators that Duke's going to face down the road.
Yeah, it's nightmares with a K for Wayne Knight. But I will tell you, we've talked about weapons and the depth of this team, and this was a next man up mentality for this James Madison offense today, and it showed in the running back room.
Yeah, the Dukes again with 479 yards of total offense this afternoon. And again, we came into the day saying, well, this is who you don't have, but they said, who cares? Nobody cares what we don't have. You got to get it done with what you do have. And James Madison did that today. Final thoughts for you, Mr. Joyce?
Yeah, I think it was a dominant performance by James Madison today. I think, you know, they got to go down to Georgia State and take care of business, not let that be sort of a trap game, trip you up game. But I have trust in Bob Chesney. He's always going to have the team prepared.
So the Dukes, they moved their record to 3-1, opening up conference play with a 35-10 victory this afternoon on the road to Georgia State. For the Eagles, they'll head back to Statesboro, idle next week, and then they'll get back into things in October, and we'll try to get things turned around for their program as they fall to 2-3 overall. So that wraps things up here at Bridgeport Stadium. For David Hulvey and Delvin Joyce, I'm Kurt Dudley saying thanks once again for joining us on this family weekend on a rainy Saturday, but it was a good football afternoon for folks hopefully where you are and where we are as well. Once again, our final score, James Madison 35, Georgia Southern 10. This has been a presentation of the JMU Sports Network for the Sun Belt Conference and ESPN+. Have a great weekend, everyone.